And if he doesn't come back, we always get someone else from wherever. Anyway, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 754. The Critical Drinker is built on Strawmen. That's interesting. I've been watching The Critical Drinker for years. I don't recall any particular logical fallacy or fallacies that his entire setup was built on. I thought it was built off a genuine love of storytelling and movies and perhaps video games. I don't know if he reviews too many video games, but generally...
He did God of War Ragnarok, didn't he?
Oh, he did? I don't remember. That's good to know. So he's an entertaining guy. He's a friendly guy. I don't see him as a strong argumentative type, but I also don't see a problem inherent with his analysis to have flaws that are so glaringly big that I would have easily picked up on. So maybe I'm not having a critical enough eye looking at him, but it never happened. Like I'd have to watch a few of his videos to see maybe where he's being a little lazy, or he's just making a joke, or like something where I think he's lacking. Like that never occurred to me. And it's kind of this is the kind of reviewers I like. They're laymen, even though I know he's a smart guy and he writes books and he's an author and he understands prose. I still see him as the average guy you could sit down with and have a talk about anything related to movies and stuff, and you get a good response out of it. So that's how I've always seen and heard of The Critical Drinker. So here is another video from people who disagree with him. This is from Edgier Than Thou. It came out, 2 weeks ago. Has less than 600 views. No problem. It's a small channel. No big deal.
Well,
and
recent.
Yeah, I mean, every month or so there's going to be someone disagreeing with The Critical Drinker, or pretty much anyone who badmouths modern media, whether it's comic books or movies or games or whatever. So there's always going to be someone on the other side saying, oh, this guy's full of shit, or something like that. So anyway, I don't know anything about Edgier Than Thou, but according to his comments, again, he's a small channel, so mostly the people who watch Critical Drinker are probably responding to him. But he's got a ratio of 41 upvotes to 51 to 51 downvotes. So don't know if that's good or bad. That's just how it's going.
That's bad, but I don't know what he's looking for. I mean,
don't know. Not sure. If anyone wants to call in, because I think Whisp is preoccupied right now. If anyone wants to call in, anyone else, Mike, if you know anyone chiming around, you can throw them into the chat. It's up to you. But I'm going to start the video. This is a 21 and a half minute video. I doubt we'll get through all of it, but we're going to try and see what this person has to say. If he starts popping up with his own logical fallacies, we'll point those out. It's not hard to do, because usually when you criticize someone, you have to have very good points backed up by very good arguments with hopefully obvious pieces of evidence. So that really helps when you're trying to criticize a critic. So anyway.
You know, I have a feeling that it's not going to go good.
We never know. We never know with these people. It could be...
That's true, yeah. They could surprise us.
They could have a very good point and then just sort of meander with it for 20 minutes, or they could have a series of ideas that are sort of like, missing the mark, but they're valid. So it's like, I guess as you sum them all up, as a whole, he doesn't like The Critical Drinker, but without any coherent reason. So it's possible. We could get some nugget of wisdom here. I doubt it, but you never know with critics criticizing others. So, but I do appreciate the effort. I appreciate people criticizing me. That never goes well, or has never gone well, but it's possible. Anyway, let's go.
Hey folks, The Critical Drink on Strawmen. That's a bold claim, innit? Allow me to explain who this guy is.
Okay, I'm getting a lot of feedback. And who's that? It's probably Mike.
Eric has
Probably me.
Who has no headphones.
Oh, you don't have it. Okay. All right, let's try again.
What I mean when I say that. The Critical Drinker is a YouTuber and film reviewer who has a lot to say about modern Hollywood and its failings. In the broad strokes, I mostly almost agree with the general idea that he's putting forward. It's absolutely undeniably true that a lot of modern Hollywood movies, particularly franchise movies, are in a bit of a creative rut at this point in time and have put out a lot of soulless garbage, I suppose you could say. Now, of course, it's pretty much delusional to call this simply a modern Hollywood issue like he does, but that's a discussion for another day.
So he's wrong or
what
he's right?
What else is it?
Is he right or is he wrong?
Yeah, what else then is it?
Is it a past issue? Yes, Hollywood has made shit films and been more creatively bankrupt in many genres. That's fine, like the horror genre. So, I mean...
But this specific type of trash is a thing of the past 5 to 10 years.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of trash every generation. No question.
And that's why calling it modern would be correct, because modern is what is now and very recently.
Right, and that's the 2010s, the 2020s that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we could
can
say
specifically categorize, identify this type of trash
exactly
from any other type of trash.
Compared to the B movies of the 70s and the 80s. Like, that's definitely trash, but some of them are good, and some of them are made that way specifically for that purpose. So
some is enjoyable trash.
Exactly. So if he's saying
Snakes on a plane.
If he's saying it's trash, it's okay, great. Give us examples why. No problem. Anyway.
Every one of your beloved childhood films, there's a Friday the 13th Part 6 and a Star Wars holiday special. The hell are you doing here?
No, those were made for other reasons.
What was that plane with the red dots? What was that all about?
9/11.
No, oh god, words.
What was the plane with the red dots? Is that
the most likely parts where a plane gets hit?
Right, exactly. And the whole logic was the engineers were like, we should armor the vehicle where all of our generally seen dots are located, and then
where we usually get hit.
But the obvious answer is, well, why don't we just not make a plane that doesn't get shot at or something?
Just fly higher.
Yeah, something like, it was like some simple thing like that. Like that was what? But what does that have to do with this?
Make a flying car.
I have a vague idea what he's trying to do intellectually, bringing a joke, but
is it low hanging fruit?
I'm too.
Like, what is it?
No. I'm sorry. I had bad fish. I can't think.
Your mojo's like blur.
Your one weakness, huh?
Okay.
I think most of the fish is gone again.
All right. Okay. Anyway,
but the faults have not come back yet.
I wish he explained what the hell that plane diagram is. Anyway,
Nicolacon in the chat says it's survivor bias, basing defenses of the planes that survived. Basically, okay.
Okay. So that relates to this how?
It's an inside joke. We just don't understand.
There were good movies somehow.
Yeah, but I need examples. You can't just say here's a little excerpt from this thing, which is esoteric knowledge. And I'm like, of what? Of what? Tell me what. It's like there's a clown hiding behind the curtain. It's like, what does that mean? What are you talking about?
Yeah. The reason those movies in the past were shit, those were for different reasons.
All right. Well, my brain can't connect these dots, so I need some help here. Anyway, let's keep going.
They were not bad because everything was replaced by propaganda. They were bad purely because of incompetence. Now we have incompetence combined with propaganda because nobody but the incompetent will make the propaganda.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Let's go with that. It's good enough for me.
On Strawmen, I mean that when TCD reviews a film, particularly one he disliked, he's
calls him
incredibly
TCD?
likely to pick out a particular scene, character, or plot point that he disliked and envision a really dumb reason that the director may have included it, then move on as though he's made some substantial critique, arrogantly assuming that his little fan fiction is canon to the events of the film. This additionally carries into his responses to arguments and disagreements within the community. It's possible that when he does this, the element that he's laser focused on has issues that deserve to be called out or critiqued, but by the end of his review, he's poisoned the well, yes, I see the irony, to the extent that now millions of people are walking around with a completely bizarre, misshapen
What's
perspective.
the irony?
Okay, so let's say I make I see a plot hole in a story, and it's a plot hole. Plot holes are bad. Doesn't matter how big or small. It's a plot hole. It's noticeable. It's in the main story, main through line, main character, whatever. That ruins the story.
And it doesn't matter how many taxes you pay if your mayor is shit and doesn't fix the plot hole.
But what is some of the examples? He hasn't listed them.
Well, we'll get there, I hope. I mean, he gave this example as a modus operandi of the critical drinker, and it's like, great, we got that. Let's see an example. He's going to show us soon, I hope.
Did anyone catch what he meant by the irony?
No.
So it's in his head.
I don't know.
He assumes that we understand his magical
Is
thoughts.
he poisoning the well because he's talking about a critical drinker and thus we don't know him? And
I don't know. That's not what poisoning the well is.
I know.
Is he poisoning the water hole?
Anyway.
Bad fish.
The problem exists in the first place. I give all this preamble to say that when I call out some glaring error in the drinker's commentary, you would be embarrassingly mistaken to assume that I'm giving some wholesale defense of the media. I'm going to criticize his misrepresentation of the fight choreography in Echo. This does not mean that I liked the fight choreography in Echo. If any of you dorks drop down to comment,
So then why are you defending it? Why are you trying
Has
to...
anyone seen that movie?
What is Echo anyway?
That shitty series based on the one character who's not like the actual Echo character from the comics, where it's Navajo wankfest. That's all it was.
Okay.
I think he's going to talk about the Echo versus Daredevil fight, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen it.
My brain went to Echo the Dolphin, but that's just me. Anyway.
Yeah, that would be
actually cuck, we're all gonna know that you didn't listen to a single word that I said, and hopefully safely assume that you can't think for yourself.
But
Don't
it
be that
is
person.
bad.
To start
But
this
it
off-
is bad for those exact reasons. That's why he uses those words. Yet the critique that you could level at the critical drinker is that he uncritically accepted and shilled for God of War Ragnarok and The Last of Us show, which had the exact same MCU cuck problems.
Well,
the show as well. Did he really?
What I recommend
He liked
is
them.
if you're trying to make an argument to your audience, you don't try to then create this pseudo audience character and then attack them. Because if I want to say something negative about you, because again, we're all critics here, we're all criticizing ourselves, and then you say this negative stuff, it's like that's not going to go well with their general audience. You don't do that. You want the audience on your side. This is a part of argumentation. You want to win the favor of whoever you're arguing with or listening to. That's what you do. Do not attack your audience. Okay.
Don't be that. To start this off, let's come up with some uncontroversial example so that you can see exactly what I mean when I start pointing out examples of this in Will's own work. Let's imagine for a moment a film reviewer critic that strongly dislikes movies with
So he's making his own theoretical example. All right, this is strange. I thought he was going to give us an actual example of the critical drinker, but okay.
Just wait. He's setting it up,
All right.
and then he's
That
gonna
not
pay it
a-
off. Hopefully,
Is that not a straw man then?
It's becoming one, but okay, here we go.
And let's then imagine that this reviewer, this critic, is producing a review of 2000's American Psycho. You can imagine that this reviewer might say something to the effect of, "The writers are clearly incapable of writing a likable, relatable protagonist, so instead we're given this obnoxious asshole who, shocker,
Okay, you figured out how to play around with putting the sound on different channels and switching it around while sounding absolutely horrible and unlistenable. Congratulations.
Point of
You're not
American-
funny.
The whole thing with American Psycho, he's not supposed to be likable. He's a fucking psycho. That's the thing.
And Critical Drinker is a comedic movie critic. It's mainly about trying to be funny, not necessarily about trying to be accurate. And then again, you don't need to agree with every movie critic about everything. What are these two Americans, Cisco and Ebert? They had questionable takes sometimes.
Yeah. And the idea
And
of
Ebert came around about anime once he watched Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, because when I left my questionable hometown, I left for my second favorite teacher, more or less. Was my English teacher. It was a special edition of Grave of the Fireflies that on the second disc had a movie review by Ebert, and who was also explaining all the cinematographic techniques that were used. It was a very, very positive thing that he did there.
Yeah, I was going to say in relation to American Psycho, we're not necessarily rooting for Patrick Bateman to go around killing people. We're trying to figure out where he's going to go. Like,
American Psycho is more like watching a slow-moving, continual traffic accident that keeps piling up. So it's the thing that you can't look away from.
Even then, at the very end of the movie, his what's it called? The perspective gets questionable,
right?
Because the ATM says, feed me with a cat there.
Yes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of elements that happen near the last third or quarter of the film.
May have not been real.
Which is kind of like when you think of what like a technique that like a Ryan Johnson wanted to pull off with Last Jedi. This was like done beautifully back in American Psycho. That's the stuff we wanted to see, where we have to question, wait a second, are we being lied to by the camera, or is this some big conspiracy where Bateman's unaware of and everyone's just sort of covering his ass and we don't know why? Is he losing his mind? Like, there's all these things that could be happening, and they're all valid because they all point to the other directions. That's brilliant. That's crazy, because it's no longer about this crazy dude killing hookers or whoever. Is this guy actually losing his mind, and we're going along the journey with him because we don't know what the hell's going after a certain point?
I wouldn't say all those interpretations are valid. It's rather that you cannot invalidate any of them.
Right. They lend up self-credibility in certain ways, and then they move on to the next scene.
It is deliberately ambiguous.
Yeah. Okay.
Male. Maybe there is a substantive critique to be made about Patrick Bateman's portrayal in that film, but I hope it's obvious to you that this reviewer isn't the person making it. Someone who read or watched this review is likely to walk away with the perspective, wow, I guess American Psycho really failed to deliver. Must be a shitty movie. The Critical Drinker makes virtually this exact same mistake in his frankly embarrassing review of Ari Aster's Midsommar, a film that he proclaims to be the worst of 2019. His entire review is laced with repeated instances of him calling Florence Pugh's Dani an unlikable lead who doesn't grow out of her personal failings by the end of the movie.
The movie kicks off in dramatic fashion by introducing us to our main character, Dani. She's an annoying, emotionally needy college student. Flash forward 6 months and Dani's still sad and needy. Oh, get over it already. An interesting main character who goes on a powerful journey could perhaps have redeemed this film, but Dani is a complete wet...
The good thing is about this depiction is through this summary of this character, I know everything to expect about her.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about stories as a whole, and we talk about films or movies or novels, novellas, where you got plenty of time to flesh out a character, like 6 months or whatever. If you do not have a climax, if you do not have a character choice moment or a revelation moment, you're kind of wasting our time. We're not here to learn about, a cult in some Scandinavian country or whatever. Like, that's interesting, but it doesn't, I don't care. Like, I need something to latch onto that is human, that is about the story. And I think this story is about a relationship of, like, there's a bunch of friends and they're going into a retreat, and one of them's a boy and girlfriend. That's her. And the whole story is a metaphor for breaking up, I think. I'm trying to remember. I haven't seen the film, but I read reviews and they were explaining what it's like. And if that's it, that's a very elaborate, poetic way to show a breakup, which could have happened in a short story in the course of like 2-3 pages. So if you do not give me the revelation, if you do not give me a character growth moment where I see, aha, a person is changing. If you guys don't know, relationships with two people, you are constantly changing. You're not just fixed in your ways, and you find a partner who's also fixed in their ways, and you grow together, and you're like two jigsaw puzzles locked in. That's not a relationship. A relationship is dynamic. There's conflicts, there's all kinds of arguments, and that's normal. And one of those end results is the breakup of a relationship. But if you don't show a growth from that, then she's just a needy old girl. And then she's just a needy old girl. And it's like, that's not, you're not helping the message. If there is a message of the story, if there is a theme outside of relationships suck. And don't hang out with, what are they called? Cults that have ritual sacrifices or whatever. I don't even know what the story's about. Like, don't do that, okay? And so the rest of the film outside of that premise is music and dancing, and you're in the woods and all the sunshine and all the pretty people singing and dancing and trying to make you feel good, and then they come around and they kill all your friends. And the last scene of the film, I'm going to spoil it for you guys. It's not a big deal, believe me. She smiles. She's really sad because she just found out all these people died, and then she smiles because she's free of her boyfriend. Okay? So it's a bit of a waste of time. It's a colorful waste of time. I think it won an award for the best musical or best soundtrack. I don't know.
Have you seen it now or didn't you?
I read reviews back in the day because Red Letter Media looked at it, and I was like, okay, this is an artsy-fartsy bullshit film, but it looked good. And I read reviews, and it was like, oh, this is beautiful, it sounds good, and it's hollow as shit. And you're like, oh my God.
Okay, so she started as a bratty girl. She didn't grow at all emotionally. And in the end, she's happy everyone's dead. That's mentally deranged.
Because she broke up.
Is she supposed to be the bad guy of this film?
Well, it makes her a bad guy, for sure.
Like, imagine there was no crazy cult. It would just be a rom-com and a depressing one. And it was slice-of-life rom-com. You're like, that doesn't help. Again, that does not... You use these
So it's
genres
a rom-com without the com?
without the comedy and without much romance because everyone's depressed and they want to leave each other.
So it's a rom-dep.
I don't know. How else would you describe it? It's a horror if you look at the elements of the cult, dismembering their friends and killing each other and whatever. So I would say it's in the horror. Yeah, it's in the horror category. Yeah.
Horror.
Anyway, that's enough exposition for me.
Sad and kind of unstable, and that's pretty much how she stays throughout the film. There's no redemption, no growth, no revelations.
To anyone who actually watched the film, including, it seems, his fans, this is fucking obvious. No shit, Danny didn't grow. It's an entire film about her being indoctrinated by a cult. You may as well be...
What you just described to me, and I agree with Chad, that's a psychopath. Not just a narcissist, that's a psychopath.
Why would you want to watch a story like that, though, is the question.
Are they exploring the fact that she's a psychopath? Or is this like she becomes this strange person?
It's as a result of...
It has to change, right?
Yeah, it's as a result of her relationship issues that the cult takes advantage of her condition, and they end up killing all these people. And she's happy because she's no longer with the guy she wanted to break up with, or they didn't break up appropriately, or whatever the problem was.
But that's another thing. If she becomes happy, well, then what is exactly is causing her to be okay with the fact that people are dying? That is the point, because usually when you have an emotional change, an ideological change, whatever the change is in a character growth, it's very well fleshed out. This just happens right at the end. This is no different as a short story. There's plenty of short stories out there. Check out 9 Short Stories by Salinger. There's one called Banana Fish, where everything is built up and the ending just, boom, happens so quickly and so violently. You're like, oh my God,
let me go reread that.
Whiplash.
Let me go reread that again, and you figure it out. Oh, this was going to happen. This was setting it up, and you just didn't know it was going to happen until you turned the page. So, in this case with this movie, it's like she's crying, she's hysterical, and then she goes from being traumatized to smiling, and you're like, okay,
That's insane.
that is crazy. Yeah.
That is bad. Oh, look, plot twist.
Like imagine.
I'm sorry. It's
He was
if you
always
think
great.
if as a writer you think that's a good idea, then the writer's a psycho.
Like I could depict someone jumping off a building and having a quick backstory of the pain and suffering they're leaving behind, and them smiling right before the end because they're free. And that would be a poetic, beautiful thing that they are. It didn't matter what was behind them. Jumping would have been a better result because I was so traumatized and in pain from the other side of that roof. So I could paint a picture, write a story of how that's a beautiful thing, and you'd be like, "Holy shit, this is creepy, Smud. What are you doing?" It's like, yeah, but 98% of that story is just horror and death and pain and suffering, and then you have this one little glimmer of joy, and it happens to be choosing to die. So you would say that's still pretty dark. It's like, yeah, but that is the whole point of the story. Whereas this is this whole 2.5 hour experience of people arguing and talking in a cult and dismembering people. And it's like, they're dancing. It's like, what is happening? It's this crazy production to obfuscate. This is really a story about a guy and a girl breaking up.
I mean, did they even display the whole indoctrination?
Oh yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's a cult, so it's like this weird.
Right, but is it a story about that, or is it more of a person story?
That's like the setting, and obviously there's some characters in there from the cult that befriend her and make her feel at home and try to keep her, like not hysterical because she's breaking up and all this jazz. So, but they're freaking crazy. They're a murder cult. So,
yeah. Ascendant Stoic in the chat says she is an uninteresting psychopath, which is the worst of both worlds. At least Walter White, Lou Bloom, and Patrick Bateman are interesting psychopaths. I will disagree on Walter White. He's not a psychopath.
I'd
That's
say
the whole point of the show.
Was it Marv from Sin City? Like, these are all violent stories, but you cheer on Marv. It's like, oh my God, yeah, he's killing people and whatever, but he believes in that girl. And he constantly believes in that girl. Everything's for that girl. So he's gonna do crazy shit just for that. Mm-hmm. So there's heroes that we can respect, and there's stories we can go, virtue. I see the value in choosing the lesser of two evils, of deciding freedom over slavery. Like, there's all kinds of beautiful stories like that. And if your poetry is dark and dank and has nothing to do with humanity, we're not going to like it. Tragedy goes from a high to a low. If this is just a slow decrease with murder and pain, and no one grows, no one changes, and the character we follow is just this girl strung along, that is not a classic story. And if you just want to treat it as a cinematographic experience, yes, you can do that. For the average person, like Critical Drinker and myself, and most people who aren't film majors or whatever, we're like, this is a pile of crap. This is artsy fartsy. This is stupid. This is crazy. This is disturbing.
What video of Critical Drinker was that? I mean, is he just talking about the worst films in 2019, or that film specifically being the worst film?
That was his worst film, yeah.
Oh, really?
Eric, can you come a bit closer to the microphone?
Oh, how do I sound fine now?
Better.
Okay. All right.
I would just address one thing in the chat. Was a bit earlier, just for clarification. Uzumaki-chan said, at this point you became Critical Drinker Apologist channel. Either you're trolling or you didn't listen, because there is beef here with Drinker about his hypocrisy towards God of War Ragnarok, and The Last of Us show. Because while he complains about all the woke crap, on the one hand, he excused it there and shielded for these things, although they are the products of that exact stuff, and they are crap. They are the exact same crap that he otherwise criticizes, and we do not know why. Makes no sense. A lot of the people who criticized all these shit flicks and crap games suddenly made excuses for exactly these two things. I wonder if something weird's going on there. But back to the topic.
All right.
For not having a tacked-on redemption arc at the end. TCD's viewers who didn't watch the movie have now walked away with the perspective that Midsommar tried and failed to give us a likable protagonist, and that it must therefore be a bad movie. Again, I'm not saying that there's no discussion to be had about whether or not Midsommar successfully used Danny's character traits to flesh out and further its themes, but it seemed...
Of what? What are the themes? Tell us. Because you say there's an argument, and you're saying the drinker isn't making it, so give us the argument. He doesn't like the character. He doesn't like the film. He thinks the character goes nowhere. I agree. What are the themes that she did espouse upon? Like, what should we have been focusing on aside from character development or lack of? This is weird. I could talk about it. It's like that's the topic.
Maybe we should not.
It's impossible for Critical Drinker to have this discussion if he doesn't even know what the themes are. He's done the equivalent
Tell us!
of watching A New Hope and complaining about the fact that it did a terrible job of making Han Solo the main character. But...
Wait. Has anyone ever said Han Solo was the main character?
He should be the main character of his movie.
Of Episode 4, the first Star Wars?
Oh, I thought that we were talking about Solo. Sorry. I was distracted for a second. I'm still not really there.
You could argue that Han Solo was the hero's hero in A New Hope, but not the main character, therefore the protagonist. So why would you even address that? That's weird. It's like saying Princess Leia is the hero. It's like she's not really. Or Ben Kenobi's the hero. It's like he's not really.
Oh, I thought Gold Leader 1 was the main character.
If you want to make the argument, okay, but where are the main characters? We got Ben, we got Luke, we got Han, we got Leia, we got Darth.
Vader.
Yeah, they're there. They're the main characters. Which is the main one? Luke.
A New Hope should really have been a movie about Wedge and Biggs.
Oh, you mean like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead? It's this crazy tertiary character scene where it's like, hey, how come we can't shoot anything with our blasters? We suck. We can't shoot anything. Oh, wait, they did that already. I don't know if you guys ever saw Rosencrantz and Guildenstern where they flip the coin. It's like, every time I flip it, it's heads. Like, what's going on?
That scene was the scene you just described was done in Mandalorian.
Yes, exactly. But it wasn't done in the context of being a meta narrative. It was just, why do we suck? Like, I don't know. There was no explanation.
Tyler Preston, don't be mean. He's the same phenotype as I am, just that he has a more gay voice.
All right.
I mean, it's real easy to shit on a movie for failing to do something it actively tried not to do. Put a pin in the Midsommar review, we're going to be coming back to it. He obfuscates in a very obvious way in his video on Marvel's Echo, where he criticizes poor fight choreography over footage of a fight scene deliberately slowed down to make it look worse.
When it comes to casting roles like this, you usually have to choose between fighters who can't act or actors who can't fight, but unfortunately Alakwa Cox can't seem to do either. She's slow and clumsy in the fight scenes, and it's very obvious the stuntmen are having to do most of the work.
I didn't particularly enjoy this fight, but you would think that an honest reviewer would be able to show you the actual footage and give their thoughts on it and leave the rest up to you. Instead, he seemingly doesn't have faith that his critique will stand up to scrutiny.
Wait. So because he slowed down the footage of her doing this bizarre kick, therefore he's doing it wrong? Like, what do you want him to do? Just get copyright struck down? Like,
So wait, if that's bad, what would happen if you sped up the footage? Is it good then?
Well,
I just had to see the kick a second time on the other monitor where the stream chat is.
Yeah, this is...
oh, God,
like,
it looks so painful.
What do you want him to do in a successful example of why that choreography was bad? Like, what do you?
I'm pretty sure he showed the footage, and then he showed it slowed down to emphasize that flaw of that delayed kick, because she doesn't know how to get the choreography.
That. Oh God! If any of you have seen any martial arts where they use kicks, that thing looked painful to watch.
Yeah. So the issue here is not that he disagrees with his end conclusion, but that how he got there was not the way he would do it. What? I don't know.
It's still a bad fight. I don't even understand his point.
Stacks the deck in his favor. Sure, the Echo choreography isn't amazing, but it's not really bad enough to make the average Joe recognize it for the awful garbage.
So it's bad, but the average guy won't pay attention?
The average Joe didn't immediately pick up on how bad the choreography in Rian Johnson's bullshit Star Wars movie was.
So...
I forgot the name. I finally forgot the name. Oh, fuck it.
This show is the whole point of this show is supposed to be like a copycat Daredevil. You're there for the fucking action. What do you mean an average Joe is not going to pick up on this?
This is kind of like the argument from...
I mean, hell, they advertised this show just based on Daredevil. Look, he's back, guys. We're going to do the same dark tone, and we're going to have the same crazy-ass choreography. I mean, that was the whole point.
And now we'll put him over there in the corner so we can focus on all the other characters.
I don't know exactly what fallacy this is, but he's trying to make the argument, well, most people won't have this opinion. It's like, it doesn't matter what most people do or do not see or care. The fact that the choreography is bad is, and you agree it's bad, is the problem. Not that Joe Blow generic is not going to notice. This is like, if you actually watch Last Jedi the second time and just watch the fight scene in the throne room, you will notice problems. Normal speed.
I don't have to, like, I don't know. This guy's
like, watch.
You can. What do you think average Joes watch when they're watching boxing or MMA? It's like you're watching for technique.
Yeah, watch The Princess Bride.
It's not hard.
The Princess Bride's fight, the very famous sword fight scene. Those swords are pieces of plastic. They're bending all over the place. It's still fun to watch, but you know it's not real. It's like, okay, fair enough.
Or even Star Wars, it's like, maybe the original trilogy, it's like they had bad fight scenes, right? And then a prequel, it's like, the story is like, oh, we don't like the story, but the fight scenes are really impressive. It's like, it's common sense. You're picking up on it because you're looking at it.
And we're talking about, this is a Marvel, Echo is a Marvel property, so you have every right to look at all the other fight scenes of all the Marvel properties of how they did them and say, well, let's compare to this. And you can say, oh, it's worse. Because people, I bet, who've watched a Marvel movie have watched other Marvel movies or Marvel streaming shows. And they will notice, hey, this fight scene, something's off with this thing. Let me watch it again. Oh my God, this is bad.
And that's why a lot of people compared it to Daredevil. You look at the fight scene in Daredevil, it's well choreographed, shot well, has style. You look at this and it's like, ooh. What happened?
Which is weird because he agrees with the conclusion, but not the argument. I don't know.
I know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Maybe he just doesn't like the argument when it's made by the drinker.
Who knows?
Oh, yeah. He's not allowed to criticize me, but I am. Okay.
He's right, but I don't like that he's right, so I'll claim that he shouldn't be right.
Yeah, I like
even though I agree that he's right.
When I add up to 4, I use 4 ones. He uses 2 2s. It's like, okay.
He uses 2 different numbers to
we
get to 4.
manipulate the footage a little bit, give ourselves some extra leeway. For a smaller example, in his video, Was Anakin Skywalker Really a Mary Sue?, he presents an unpopular tweet referring to Anakin Skywalker as a Mary Sue. In popular discourse, a Mary Sue often refers to a character who is so incredibly overpowered that they're able to solve seemingly insurmountable problems with minimal difficulty. You may reasonably consider that to be an incomplete definition, but I can assure you that's how the average person thinks of the term. The drinker responds.
Again, I don't care what the average person thinks, but not.
But how do you know that the average person thinks this?
Most people don't care about literary terms, but it's such a big phrase that there's so much nuance and other terms and definitions of it and examples that you could say, okay, fair, we'll go with that. We could still use that example in the Drinker's Anakin Skywalker example of episode 1. You could definitely say Anakin in episode 1 was a Mary Sue to a degree. And that's fine.
Did he say that?
He's going to get there.
Hopefully.
Ah yes, that famously perfect protagonist who wins at everything, always makes the right decisions, has a selfless and compassionate personality, and is universally loved and respected by everyone.
So the Drinker used 4 other examples of what a Mary Sue is, and he's not wrong. Whereas this guy is cherry-picking one example and saying, well, the average person thinks that's what a Mary Sue is. Therefore, he's wrong. You're like, what? So the Drinker has more knowledge of the subject, and he's right, but you think he's wrong because the average Joe Blow doesn't know that.
I don't. What?
That's like saying this engineer who knows how to make a bridge. Well, he has.
I'm sorry.
It's almost like these people are too dumb for their own good. It's like,
and I'm sorry. I'm extra slow today. So he actually made the argument. This guy actually made the argument that Anakin is a Mary Sue.
No. He's saying that Drinker's example used four criteria, whereas he only used 1, and he says the average person only used 1. Therefore, the Drinker is wrong.
What? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And rather, the Drinker used 4 counter examples. That's not the same as criteria. Anakin is Anakin's whole story, and that was there. Lucas had that story long before that the attempt at those movies was made. Anakin's entire story is he's the chosen one, but he fucks it up because he gets tempted by the dark side. The dark side manages to manipulate him, to get him in its grasp. It's the chosen one stolen by the dark side. That's the story. If he was a Mary Sue, he wouldn't have fallen for the dark side, for the machinations, for the tricks, all this bullshit. That's the whole point. He can't be a Mary Sue.
which is counter to Luke's arc. The original show.
In the Drinker's example, he used scenes from episode 3 and 2. Whereas if you're going to make an actual argument for Mary Sue Anakin, it's only in episode 1. Because in episode 2 and 3, he screws up a lot. He goes crazy. People dislike him. Like this, it's...
He has really dumb suggestions.
Yeah, so in episode 1, he's pretty much the golden boy. He could do it no wrong. He just, he wins the race. He blows up the...
Yeah, but I get what you're saying, but he's like a kid. He's not even the main focus of that story.
Yeah. And you could almost say that Anakin in the movies, in episode 2 and 3, is a completely different character from Anakin in the Clone Wars show, where he is the good guy, where he is competent and everything.
That's where they actually try to give him some believability, being the chosen one, even making a story and with that,
with some hints of the decline, with some hints of the of being wooed by the dark side, by Palpatine.
Yeah. I think the writers
that's there, but it's it's trying to work it into these very, very ham-fisted movies.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
The writers were sort of pigeonholed. They couldn't do much. They couldn't wiggle. They didn't have much wiggle room to work with Anakin as he was post episode 2, because there's that time between 2 and 3, because obviously 3 is where everything happens. So everything in the Clone Wars happens between those 2 episodes, and it's like he's kind of static, but you could sort of massage him into evil. It's like, this kind of works, kind of, but it's filler. Ultimately, Clone Wars is filler.
It's and it is one of these many attempts of softening the blows. It's like it is trying to fill plot holes, as wonky as it does that.
All right,
and it too has its moments. So that's that.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master. No!
I love you.
Liar!
I killed them all.
Do you see what he's done here? I can almost guarantee you that this Twitter user, when they...
Yeah, I see what he's done. He showed all the failures of Anakin. It's something that does not happen to a Mary Sue. It just doesn't.
They called Anakin Sue were not referring to the fact that he's a perfect, unchallenged hero. They probably meant that he's...
Oh, so you are mind reading now. You're guessing. Who's strawmanning here?
Again, that he's able to solve incredibly difficult problems either with extreme raw power or unbelievable luck.
He's the chosen one. You have the Force. The Force does these things. It affects chance and all this other nonsense. He has the mostest, forcestest powers there are. That's a thing. That doesn't make him a Mary Sue, though. It would be a Mary Sue. He would be a Mary Sue if the negative things didn't happen.
Right,
Well,
he still lost the fight with Dooku. Like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about?
the argument for him getting his powers is explained. It's like he has the powerful midichlorians, then he grows up, he's trained all those years, he has all these skills, so he didn't just like someone just pointed at him, boom, now you're a god. It's like, well, I'm going to give you the potential to be a really powerful Jedi. He trains as one, he is a powerful Jedi, and then he is still a moron. So he may have all these skills and abilities, but he's still like, I'm gonna kill Mace Windu because then I can't save Padme, but I don't know how I'm gonna save Padme because he never taught me, and I'm gonna fight Obi-Wan because I think he's against me now. And I was like, what? Like, what's going on? He's not a Mary Sue. He's an idiot.
So according to this guy's logic here, Son Goku would be a Mary Sue, although he keeps dying and is relatively dumb in many ways.
This is a weird...
A Mary Sue would not die constantly.
I don't think we should be using a Mary Sue, the nuance and detail and complexity of a Mary Sue and all its permutations, in your argument against Drinker's a bad critic because... He himself does not use the term properly. He even flees into, people who use the term, they probably mean something different. Also, they mean something else than the term actually means, which means they're using it wrong, which means they are wrong. And you're defending that with an angry face. Because
what is your game here?
Because the definition has to be simple and one-dimensional. And you're like, that's not a very good definition of Mary Sue. I don't care if the layman thinks that way. Why would you?
The layman doesn't.
That's like having an argument about astrophysics. Well, the layman doesn't think like that. It's like, why are we bringing up a guy who hasn't even taken a first-year course on physics?
The title of this video at this point is Complete Projection because he is strawmanning.
Okay. Anyway.
That he's a Mary Sue, but no matter what other arguments the Drinker makes in this video, he's already set up a fake opponent to knock down. No matter how good or bad his follow-up points are, the subject of his response...
No. Who's the fake opponent? I don't understand.
What is that? Explain the fake opponent.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about. Because if you now acknowledge that the term Mary Sue was used wrong, by the side you're defending, apparently, or theoretically or hypothetically, then the Drinker is right. So what is the straw man?
Fake opponent. I don't.
What is the? Well, that is what a straw man is. It's an argument you invent that you ascribe the other side is using. For example, the other side. That you can easily knock down in order to prove your point. Although, because you're not addressing a real point of criticism against your argument, because then you might lose.
Okay.
Of winning because he's assumed the dumbest possible version of their argument and then just rolled with it.
Which is which? What are you talking about?
Please explain.
What argument? thought we were talking about Mary Sue's here.
Are we having to guess what people mean with their arguments? With when they say when they claim Anakin is a Mary Sue, we have to now steelman their idiocy that is clearly disingenuous because they're just throwing words around in order to distract from their own deficiencies. Because these are the people who call Anakin a Mary Sue are the people who write Mary Sue female Mary Sue characters all the time. And thus have to, they always project, they're not very creative people. So they accuse the male characters of being Mary Sues, although they aren't Mary Sues. Just to say, oh, you're doing it too, so it's okay when we do it. That's what's going on. Why are you defending that bullshit? Why do I have to positively interpret the mad ramblings of a jealous feminist narcissist?
We could define Fairy Sue in, I think, 8 different dimensions, and one of them could just be personality. Like, forget the powers and the skills and the relationships and all the
Mary Sues don't have personality.
That's exactly, but there's flavors and versions and iterations of that. So it's not just one thing.
Yeah. What was the thought? The thing is. Nope, it's gone.
Okay,
let's continue.
To do the same. If he were confident in his positions, he would be able to destroy his opponent without...
Which opponent? Who is he talking? What are you talking about? He's making a video.
The enemies in his walls. And Rotom, I know that the male versions are called Gary Stews, although that's just a flight of fancy. It's irrelevant. The trope is called Mary Sue because the original character that it's named after was called Mary Sue from a Star Trek.
We call Wesley Crusher a Mary Sue just as well.
Yeah. That's as if there could be a female villain who does the same shit Thanos does in the MCU, and we'd call that a Thanos. That's the logic there. The whole Gary Stu thing. I think I wonder if we dig for who came up with that it was just a woman who wants to deflect from her Mary Sue shit.
Well, I'm getting kind of tired listening about Mary Sue. Maybe as a better example of the drinkers, strawmen, or whatever. Anyway.
Even though he provided evidence, but okay, sure.
He could even criticize this person's seeming misunderstanding of what a Mary Sue really is, successfully calling them out on an actual mistake. But alas, we don't live in that timeline. Returning to Midsommar for a moment, several moments, TCD criticizes the film's characters for consistently making bad decisions that put themselves in unnecessary danger. And then he just leaves the critique there, as though he's successfully called out Midsommar on some sort of massive failure of storytelling.
Yeah, it's called really bad plots and thriller horror stories. Happens all the time. Let's go to the cabin in the woods and let's flirt around and play nude in the water with the killer walking around. Who's that guy in the back? We don't know. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Let's get it on, baby. Like there's all these stupid scenarios in these stories, and that's kind of the joy of like, the stupid kid, they're gonna get killed in the next 10 minutes. See it coming, sort of deal, and you're free to point out how stupid these plots are. That's fine. What do you want to look at the plot hole? It's like, look how big it is. What more do you want? You want me to describe how dumb it is too, and the circumference of the hole, and how many people can fit through it, and all this other? No, it's a hole.
I just want to know how much tax money it costs to fill the hole.
It's like, yes, it's a problem. Now, usually the argument is, well, just because you point out the problem doesn't mean you're smart enough to fix it. It's not my point to fix it. I'm not the writer. They're not paying me to fix it. Okay. I don't have to do that. I would just write a brand new story in most cases, which I've done with some of my analyses, but it doesn't matter. This is not an argument.
Shitty slasher films.
You know how all those old school slasher movies intentionally made their characters dumb and unlikable so you wouldn't feel bad when they got killed, but then it became a total cliche and people generally stopped doing it because it was obvious audience manipulation? Well, could someone please tell that to Ari Aster? He needs to hear it.
What he misses, however, is that the cast's poor decisions throughout the film are actually an attempt to deliver a message that I think he and his followers would probably agree with. Will specifically points out a scene in which the main characters witness some cult members bashing in the brains of one of their elders as the point at which they should have packed their shit and left.
Then some old people throw themselves off a cliff, and one of them gets his fucking face smashed in with a warhammer. Now this is probably the point at which normal people would realise that all is not well with this place, and that it would be a good idea to gather up your gear, make some polite excuses, and leave.
What he's blatantly ignoring about this decision is that it was intentionally made to point out the toxic effects that culture shock and social pressuring can have on a person, especially a foreigner. These people have been invited by a trusted friend to partake in a cultural heritage that is very much not their own, and they're expected to respect the beliefs of their host.
Yeah, and when the moment that your host starts killing people, it's just when any sane person leaves. If you then still stay, you're an idiot.
No,
Or you're so frightened that you fear that if you do leave, you get killed too.
well, that's the same. That was what I was going to ask. Did they showcase them trying to leave, and then somebody's like, "No, you're not leaving"? Did that happen?
Oh no, the cultural shock, that's why they say, like, no, you're dumb. That's just dumb.
That's a little bit more believable then.
Yeah, this is where
It'd be rude to leave.
yeah, this is where it's sort of like, okay, if anyone sane seeing this would be like, okay, we're gonna get the hell out of here right now. And the Dricker's saying that's normal, that's logical, everyone would do that. And this guy's like, well, no, the point of the story is it's social pressure and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, show that.
Yeah, then it is badly executed.
Yeah, and then show them trying to get the hell out of there, because that's what you need to show. If you don't show that, it's a bad story.
The author failed to convey the message that he intended, or that you are projecting on it in order to excuse it, in order to complain about the drinker.
Yeah, because the overall, again, because if he knows the themes of the story, the theme is the breakup of a relationship, and this is a metaphor for that. Well, we have to keep seeing it until the breakup occurs, right? So everything has to justify this stupid setup of a dumb plot with all these deaths, all this murder, and it's like, let's keep staying in this retreat with the crazy psychos because we need to get to the theme. That's silly. That's a bad story.
It'd be rude. I don't know.
And the thing with... God, I can't hold a thought today.
Man, that must have been some really bad fish.
Yeah, well, it was a bad fish.
Naughty.
No, I'm not going to say that on stream. Oh, God. It'll come back.
All right.
Is a part of our heritage and essentially shamed into shutting up. No shit, they made bad choices. The entire purpose of this film is to explore ways to make people make bad choices.
So you're saying they're stupid.
But not that. That is too
he's
dumb.
agreeing.
It is too unbelievable. Yet I remember what I wanted to say. So it can be interesting to know what the author, the writer in this case, intended. That is interesting to know. But has the product, the artistic thing he made, conveyed that? Does it convey that on its own? Or can I only begin to get the idea that that's there if he tells me? Because if that is the case, then he failed. The author can fail about his intent, about his message. Verhoeven is the greatest example of that. I make a satire with RoboCop. I make a satire with about the state with RoboCop. I make a satire about fascism with Starship Troopers. And he always fails at that. He makes great movies accidentally, but he does not convey the message he wants to convey because he's an idiot in that regard. Because that's mainly the problem of people on that side of the in that political camp. I want to get away from the metaphor of the fence because it implies there's only these two sides. When one is good, the other's bad, and whichever you're on is the good one, the other's evil. That's bullshit. It's just a stupid game in a stadium, and the rest of the world is elsewhere. The thing with Verhoeven and his ideological camp is when you're in that camp, you see the world completely skewed, and you cannot portray anything that is in your own ideology correctly. That is why, 1, the left can't meme. 2, the left can't make satire. Verhoeven can accidentally make a good movie that is a great comedy, that is maybe a satire of something, generally the military, okay, in some aspects, but it is not a satire about the thing that he intended it to be, because he does not understand the thing he's satirizing.
All right. Here we go with Frog Jupiter, sir. Thank you for the 5. Just got here, sees Kami. We don't know exactly what his political background is. Let's not jump to conclusions.
In this case, it's hard to tell.
Performs physiognomy check, discards Kami opinion, leaves, works out, and wrestles to not end up like him. Okay, have a good time. See you. Let's not throw words if we don't have to, though. The Threadnought. Hey, Threadnought, how's it going, sir? Haven't heard from you in a while. This guy is the YouTube equivalent of that journo that ate brain to fit in with the bunch of people eaters. A coward with no morals or principles. I think he's just coming from the camp of I like film, and I'm going to justify film as good because other person I disagree with for whatever reason doesn't. And this like, first, don't use the Mary Sue as an example. It's too convoluted. Unless you know what you're doing, don't talk about it. It's the biggest, most difficult, diverse trope to ever use. Secondly, don't use Midsommar. It's not a great. Use a film which makes more actual sense and has some substance first.
Well, I feel like if that was the case, he would just make an analytical video on that movie rather than try to attack the drinker or whatever his argument is. Yeah, that would have been a little more helpful because not everyone can appreciate Midsommar, and he does. So just say why. And show us your perspective on why you think that. Right, because I tend to think as drinker as a smart layman. He knows what he's talking about. He has experience, and he doesn't take it too seriously. But when he sees a movie like Midsommar, he goes, "Yeah, there's a lot lacking here. There's a lot of crazy happening." It's kind of the joke we poke at with every slasher horror flick. Why are these kids in this cabin? Get the hell out of there. And that's the film. That's part of the film. It's part of the horror genre. So there's going to be stupid elements. And if the writer does not do away with those arguments, like why aren't they booking it out of there at the first sign of trouble, there's a huge plot hole. If you could even argue there's a plot in the story outside of I'm in this retreat because it's relaxing, and then like 9 people die or whatever. It's like, oh my God. So
maybe I don't want to be in the place where 9 people keep dying right now.
Yeah, it's if I was at Cuba, if I took a vacation to Cuba and there's a resort, there's all kinds of resorts in Cuba, and we're taking, I don't know, a windy dirt path road, and I hear a bunch of guys firing their AK-47s and people screaming and fires, I'm leaving Cuba. Like, I'm not just like, oh, we'll just go back to the resort, have a nice bonfire, and go back to sleep and enjoy some beach tomorrow. No, I'm getting on the plane.
Mm-hmm. I don't even think it's like that. It's like going to a cartel and shit and just staying there, even though they're doing some heinous shit.
And counter to that, and I don't watch a lot of horror movies. I don't I don't need that for various reasons. I've had my fill of horror in my life, and that is usually when you don't need to watch that anymore. Same goes for people who've been to war. They don't usually watch war movies. The thing is, positive examples would be for why are you still in that place? Would be The Thing. You're stuck in that in that research station in the snow. You can't get away. And the other one, a good friend he talked for an hour to me to watch that movie. It was a Nick Cage horror movie, a double feature, basically. I mentioned it to you once. Madeline or something?
Oh, okay. The one with the car and all this other jazz.
Yeah. And in the first half is also justified why he's not getting away, because he's basically a hostage to be tortured. So there's a reason why. These people in these dumb horror movies, they stay of their own volition because they're retarded. No sane human would do this. These people, they deserve to die solely because they remain in the place they are in.
Mandy,
yes, thank you. Watch Mandy. It's Nick Cage.
That's all you need to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan. I'm now that movie made me a fan.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
Don't like that, but if you actually had substantive critiques of this film, you'd be able to make them without first misrepresenting its events. TCD continues by complaining that Midsommar somehow fails to reincorporate its setup, that being the death of Danny's family, into the rest of the story. Specifically requesting that maybe the cult should have orchestrated all of these events beforehand in order to facilitate some dramatic reveal. This, beyond being, I think, kind of an embarrassing fanfiction that would needlessly convolute the movie, in my opinion. This is also a demonstration of his seeming inability to understand subtext. Will, the movie uses this event to fuel literally every second that Danny's on screen. She's uniquely affected by the cult's violence.
Yeah, I don't like this guy. Literally every second. It's like, okay. Maybe
Really?
tone it down a notch.
Examples. You need to articulate yourself properly so that people who haven't seen the movie can understand it. You can only look, the rule of thumb. Only if you can explain it to a 5-year-old that the 5-year-old understands it and doesn't just copy your opinion due to your authority, but because of the arguments you present, then you have actually understood what you're talking about. You don't seem like you understand what you're talking about. You seem like you're making up shit out of nowhere.
Yeah, when someone goes to the realm of like conspiracy fanfic, that's when something does not make sense in a story and they're desperately trying to fill in the blanks or connect the dots to make it make sense. Like, why does this cult care so much? What's the point? Why is this person related to the cult? Like, I don't know. I don't know much of the story. But if you were to connect the past of this person with the past of another person in the cult, that would be something. You'd be, oh, there's a connection there. How does that work? Why does that work? Then we have something to work with outside of just being a cult. Just, hey, we're the setting. Look at us. We're a crazy cult. You're like, okay. Hi. Why are you here? Like, it's a weird slice of life that does not feel like slice of life. It feels out of this world. So you have to connect something. That's why we talk about a dramatic arc. Either the Frega's pyramid, not Frega. What the hell's his name? The German fellow.
Maslow.
Well, it is a triangle. It's a dramatic structure essentially, where we see the inclination, the rising action. We get to the climax eventually, and we have the character moment. We have the change. If you do not,
I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's a
name.
16th century. I can't remember the time, but if you do not have that in your story, as I said in the beginning, you're wasting. Sorry.
No, I'm making.
Okay, I'll
naming random names from ancient Germany.
Okay, well, all I'm saying is, if you do not have a character growth moment, you're wasting everyone's time. From the classical story experience, you could put a dramatic structure, you could put a climax in your story with a character moment, regardless of genre. It's not hard. It could be, oh, I really did love my daddy, or I really didn't like my mom, or whatever. I don't care. Make one up. And then she goes off her journey of, I'm going to change as a result of that. I need to tell Bob I'm breaking up with him, or whatever. Great, do that. Make that connect with the plot. Good for you. But if you don't do that, then it's just a series of events. And we're going, oh, look at this spectacle. Oh, look at that spectacle. This guy jumped off a cliff. This guy got his head crushed in. Wow. More spectacle. And then she cries at the end. The end. That's not much of a story. It's just spectacle for the sake of being in the genre of horror, and you expect blood and guts.
Yeah. Ascendant Stoic says Freitagspyramid.
Freytag. Thank you. I thought I said Freyga. I don't know why.
No, it's pronounced Freitag.
Freitag. Okay.
Freitag.
Thank you.
But I was not familiar with that name.
That's the first example outside of Aristotle to talk about dramatic structure. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Misery porn is the word we were looking for.
I wish that was the case. With
it's not even misery porn?
It's not even. I don't even think so. I think it's just shock value and a bunch of people just arguing, bickering, friends on retreat. Like, why are we here? Blah, blah, blah. They're so nice. Stay a while. Blah, blah. It's like, okay. Whatever. It would be a lot different if it was misery. Misery porn is just like depressing. Like if you watch Puccini or listen to the operettas, it's dramatic. It's strong. It makes you cry. You feel sad. This is just who cares?
It's not misery. Puccini's not misery porn.
No. He's dramatic.
It's strong emotions.
Yeah, you feel it. You're like, oh, this is so tragic. With this stuff, you're just like, bleh. Get over it. Which is kind of
what Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah. It's
this empty, bumbling forward.
I would say misery porn. Part of that.
Occasionally, an angel monster is exploded into 20,000 liters of blood, and then we have Shinji standing on the train station again for no comprehensible reason.
I don't. Trying to characterize or categorize Neon Genesis is so, because every episode is just like, what? Like, what is it doing now? Like, oh God, what is the plot of this thing? Stop the angels from drilling. Oh God, I don't want to know anymore.
I don't want to be in the robot. I want to take the train
to nowhere.
I don't even know where to.
Yeah, just away.
Where does Shinji even come from?
How far does this train go? Where are the watermelons? Who owns a patch of watermelons in the middle of this? Do you own a farm? Like what?
No, the problem with Shinji's character arc is that it falls flat.
Oh.
It's a depression problem. It's even when he gets a little bit of motion into it, it collapses relatively quickly again, and then goes nowhere.
Yeah. All right. Well, this guy is angry for no reason, or I honestly think we sat him down and talked to him, and we watched the drinker video with him. And we say, this is what the drinker's saying. Do you understand that? And he goes, yes. Okay. What's wrong with it? And it's not the layman's example. It's like, well, so what? I have like 20 different examples of Mary Sue. Who cares? What's your problem?
You really want to sit with this guy?
Well, I think he's intelligent enough to have a conversation as opposed to other people that we've talked to.
Are you sure about that?
And he seems pretty headstrong. He seems pretty like I could take an argument. It's like, great, let's do that.
Yeah, I think he just needs to take a step back.
Cut his hair. I don't know.
See everything from a little bit further away.
Yeah. He doesn't seem unreasonable. Just very passionate and sure of himself, which is fine. But we could whittle that down.
Phenotype saved.
All right.
They trigger her still fresh grief, increasing her emotional vulnerability and desperation for some shoulder to cry on, something that her boyfriend is becoming increasingly unable to provide. The loss of her parents and sister then catalyze her indoctrination into the cult, as her desperation to replace the family she lost causes her to overlook red flags and put blind trust in what she sees as...
So you're saying she's an idiot?
Yeah, because I don't know about you. People dying, I mean...
Well, no, she's saying that all these things are causing him not to see the red flags. It's like, that's what the drinkers said. She's an idiot.
But no, he says it, so it's good.
Well, it's because of the setting and the characters are obfuscating the reality. It's like, yes, exactly.
When she makes bad choices, it's like, what?
Look, the drinker phrases it like a tipsy Englishman would say it in a pub. You try to say it like some head in the clouds art critic. But if you ultimately say the same things, You say the same things.
Yeah.
You just use different words. That is possible. You can say the same thing with different words.
It's a strange
And
thing.
the drinker does it funny.
Yeah, because the drinker is quick and entertaining, and we appreciate that because it's fun to listen to people review bad films, and he does it in that sort of lackadaisical, half-drunken manner. And this guy's like, well, he's missing all the subtext. It's like, maybe, but if the thing sucks, I really don't care about this meta-narrative bullshit. I don't want to watch it, but I'll watch someone bash something, which is a pile of crap. Now, in some cases, like The Last Jedi, I want to see it again and again, just because it is so amazingly bad. Like, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. That's right. I forgot about that. It's like watching The Room again. It's like, this is so crazy. I can't remember. Why are they throwing a football around in the middle of a wedding? Like, it's so stupid. Like, you got to watch that again.
See, Smut, that is why I like Survive Style 5+.
Oh God, that is so wacky. You're just like, whoa, slow down.
Smut and LitDev have not watched another movie with me ever since I showed them that one.
That was like watching like condensed Excel Saga, but with live action. And it's like, okay, we can't do everything in animation, so we're gonna try it with like a flying man, but he's really a chicken. It's like, what? How do you? Well, that's how you do it. They'll show it near the end. Oh my God, it's a music video. It's the credits. How? I don't know.
And Vinnie Jones.
It's wild. Anyway.
And mutual loyalty. He also, if you'll believe it, misinterprets the film's ending, claiming that the narrative frames what happens to Danny's ex-boyfriend as a good thing, as though it's just punishment for this toxic white man.
And why does this movie act as if Christian somehow deserves what happened to him? Like his death is justified retribution for what he did? Because I'm pretty sure if you reversed the genders here and showed a previously faithful, patient and supportive woman being drugged and coerced into having sex that she didn't particularly want, then being condemned to burn to death by her jealous boyfriend, people would not be singing the praises of this movie in quite the same way.
But simply, he's full of shit on this front.
Why?
No. The movie does not frame this act of mass murder.
She's happy. It's a good thing that her boyfriend died because she's happy. She smiles. Now, you could argue she's hysterical, but if she's hysterical, then it doesn't matter what she feels because we have no idea what she's going through. She's randomly going through cycling emotion. So which one is it? Is she just chaotic? The end? Or is she happy? The end? That's swap the roles. Make the guy the main focus of the story, and the girl in the background or the secondary character. And the girl dies, and he's crying, and then he just smiles, and he smiles at the end. How do you think that would be taken? Not too well, I don't think.
I mean, I'd like it.
Can you imagine the guy smiling at the death of his ex-girlfriend? The end? That wouldn't go so well. I don't
Based.
think,
Red pill.
Just
Sigma.
like just do that. Do that thought experiment for you, sir. Like what do you think how people would react to that? In 2019 or oh God. Like that's not a good message.
I think it's a great message. You're right. It's not good. It's great.
I would be laughing at the end if I watched that in the theater. I'd be laughing. What the hell was that? What this ritual suicide murder cult group? It kills my girlfriend, and I'm smiling like holy crap.
Now I didn't have to go through the emotional stress of breaking up myself because they killed him for me.
Yay! I'm a psychopath. Yay!
Or just the average girl. Maybe she's just the average girl. Maybe that's the girls he knows. And that's why he doesn't see a problem with that. Which I would say, why are you still there? Haven't you learned anything from the movie? Get away from them. Save yourself. Or they make a movie about you.
Okay.
Midsommar doesn't have a happy ending. This is both obvious from the awful screams echoing from the cabin, into Danny's horrifying stare directly into the camera.
Wait. That happy that was pretty nice music with the burning there. It's a very eerie contrast. And that's the actual creepy smile. I want to see that. Oh my god, please shoot her. My god.
It's a horrifying, yeah.
Okay, so you can do a search for what does the ending of Midsommar mean. You get a bunch of descriptions. The one I'm reading right now. At the beginning of Midsommar, Danny is alone in her grief. In the end, she's sharing not just her grief and pain, but joy and celebration. She's happy. When Danny's final expression can give us the impression that she has newfound happiness in her chosen family, the movie doesn't shy away from showing us how the cult can manipulate and easily exploit those who are emotionally vulnerable. It doesn't matter how they did it. She's happy. You can say, wow, that's kind of creepy. It's like, yeah, it is. But she's happy. So, yeah, you could say she's faking it. She's being manipulated. She's being hysterical. The message is she's happy. Now, that's a surface level thing.
She has people that cares about her. Okay, great. They're fucked up people.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, this is a pretty creepy, gross story, but it's still a happy ending.
Directly in. It's also double, triple, quadruple obvious because Ari Aster has done this before. Literally 1 year.
I don't care about his other. This is stupid. Oh, this author is known for doing thing. I don't care. I'm not.
You can't bring that argument. It's irrelevant for this movie. If I have to watch his other movie that has nothing to do with this movie story-wise, then no. That's dumb.
I don't know. I do that with Zack Snyder films. I mean, it helps me.
That's because you try to understand the psyche of Zack Snyder. But look, if I have to watch the other completely unrelated movie by the guy who I don't even know to understand this movie correctly, because he does a thing here that is actually not fitting right, because I have to interpret it like he did it in the other movie where he allegedly did it right. That's a failed offer.
Yeah, and let's not forget...
It's a hack. That's an idiot.
If you guys do watch the film, a lot of crazy shit happens in the last few minutes. So it's probably a manic... Like, anytime you have a bunch of crazy events happen, the end, you've probably screwed up your story. You're probably doing something wrong, unless the setting is like a madhouse or a psychiatric ward where everyone's just going nuts. So there's some poisonous gas causing everyone to go crazy and lose their shit at the end. Not a good way to end a story, but in this case, this is the dramatic ending where everyone's either having sex or killing each other or committing suicide.
Yeah. In short, the movie has to speak for itself. The book I read has to speak for itself. It has to make sense within itself. When Neil Gaiman writes a new book that has nothing to do with any of his other books, even if it is in the same universe, which you can argue, then it kind of has something to do with them. But the same is true for Terry Pratchett. Terry Pratchett was really good at this. All his Discworld novels. You can read each of them on their own and not be confused. Even though many of the later ones reference a lot of stuff that's in the others. But you can still understand what's going on, what the characters are, as if you had never read any of these other books. This movie, thus, is crap. This author, thus, is crap. Not Terry Pratchett, the guy who made Midsommar. Stop making excuses for bad writing.
Well, I would hate
have some standards.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a good writer yourself, maybe.
I would hate to justify the meaning or value of the story to be this chaotic orgy death cult scenario, saying, "Oh, that's not the message." It's like, what's the message of a bunch of lunatics killing and fucking? Like, what do you want from that?
Well, I was even taking a peek of, because you were searching the meaning, right? And I'm looking at comments where it's like, people who think this is a happy ending are sociopaths.
Yep.
Another one is like everyone died in a horrific fashion, and the only person who didn't die was brainwashed into joining the cult. This was not a happy ending. It's like, okay, I don't get it. I don't know.
It's disturbing.
Just because the main character is happy at the end does not mean it's a happy ending. I think this is the best example for that.
Natural horror film Hereditary ends with a whole lot of characters real happy and successful, but nobody in the audience didn't realize that this was the worst possible outcome. This kind of error, though, is exactly why I think it's so important to criticize this tendency. The Critical Drinker is, in many, if not most, of his reviews, selling you a narrative. Beyond the whole modern Hollywood sucks shtick that I don't really object to all that much, he's also trying to sell you on the idea that...
What's the problem?
A movie is trying to sell me a narrative, and that narrative has to hold up. From what I've heard so far, this movie's narrative doesn't hold up. So what's your issue? The Drinker is at least internally consistent within a review, but not across reviews.
He's saying he's selling a narrative. What is Drinker's narrative?
Movie bad, lol.
Okay.
That's the whole point of his thing. It's very rare that he makes a positive review of something. Because bad
to
sells.
pick with straight white men, and that they should feel threatened by this fact. At the end of the day, I don't especially care if a viewer walks away from his review deciding not to watch Midsommar because they think it's going to be a bad film, but I do care if they think it's further proof that modern culture is out to destroy white men. Once you've made enough of these
It openly says that. It openly says that there are rules and laws right now in place to keep white people out of jobs. You're an idiot if you don't see that.
Shit reviews, you've reached a point where legions of fans can point out 50 different examples of anti-white, anti-straight, anti-male movies without having seen a single one of them. All because one guy doesn't know how to interpret theme.
Okay.
And yes,
okay. Look. Go on Google, find, I don't know, any search for Midsommar, white supremacy, males, whatever. You'll see a bunch of articles saying people still don't realize Midsommar is about blah, blah, blah. White supremacy, whatever. The patriarch, it's there. People think this. So no, either all of these film critics are wrong or you're wrong.
And when I keep replacing characters with diverse characters that are black and gay all the time. South Park made a fucking special about that. We're all tired of it because this is a racist movement that seeks to divide people in order to control them. This is a divide and conquer tactic. When everybody hates each other, nobody's looking at the top corrupt exploiters that pull all the strings. That's why they do this. They don't actually care about the race stuff, but they use it well. And the creepy thing is, this is all coming from the left that for decades told us categorizing people and judging people by race is evil. And now they do it. Exactly the same in the exact same way that the Nazis did it. They just turned the arrow around who's the bad and who's the good guy. And yes, Rotom, thanks for the reminder. Drinker does a series of Drinker Recommends. I have completely forgotten that because I haven't watched him for a long time now. Damn it. That happens when you make one hypocritical thing. People lose interest. At least some.
I'm just reading some reviews. People are saying, I also speak a little Swedish, so I noticed a white nationalist banner very early on in the drive up to the commune, the first part of the film. Okay, I mean, there's all kinds of things happening in this story that you probably weren't aware of or don't know. But if the author or producer or director put that stuff in there, maybe there's a reason.
So this happens in Scandinavia, this movie?
Swedish? Yeah, I think.
Why would you? Okay, the Swedes were on the side of the Nazis. The Swedish Social Democrats were on the side of the Nazis, and not out of because they were pressed into it, but they were for the Nazis before Hitler took power. They were very, very happy. They were voluntary with that. Just after the war, after the Nazis lost, they immediately went the other way and said, we never knew about them. We always hated them. We are totally against any Nazis. Totally. And now they do the same shit again. Because there's actually no difference between what you believe the left and the right is. You've been told a lie. These are the same ideology. But what is more important here is that why the hell would Sweden have a white nationalist movement? That doesn't make sense. Nationalism, okay, yeah, but white? White is not the concept in Europe, you fucking idiots. That is something that the Americans invented, or the British, which would be the closest thing to European. But on the continent, nobody uses this. Nobody. The Nazis had the Aryan bullshit, which was something else that wasn't the same as white. White is something that the red socialists are using for the most part. And now because neo-Nazis are just as dumb as the red socialists, they're maybe copying it. That's the closest thing I could imagine. But this whole thing nothing makes sense. But then again, when leftists make movies, they can't make anything about these ideologies right, because all they see is they see themselves as good, and this other thing that they only know the American strawman of, they then put in, and then you get the strawman in the movie. That's what usually happens. Nothing makes fucking sense. Thanks to these stupid assholes with their hammer and sickle obsession. Tools they will never take in their hands and do anything with. Because they're not actually workers. They're never workers. They are the fucking people who just want to exploit others, who want to be the rich rulers, who want to be fed by the people who use these tools. That's the workers' paradise. And last thing on that, as I said, they're never the workers. They are the bourgeoisie that they claim to fight. They just want to be the bourgeoisie that rules. It's fucking crazy that for over 100 years, over 200 years, we've been keep falling for this crap. And you fell for this crap. Because you think that what is going on, what they write hundreds of papers about every fucking year is not going on. What they write policies about, that is coming from the very top of the World Economic Forum, that Klaus Schwab wrote in his book, is somehow not happening. You are insane. No, not insane. You're a useful idiot. If you were insane, you would have an excuse.
Okay, we're at 12 minutes. Let's see how far he goes. I think he's still talking about Midsommar.
Response to criticism on his Midsommar video, and unsurprisingly, it also uses the weakest possible arguments against him. At one point, he actively lists what he thinks the themes of the film are, and just misses a bunch of them. Like, he doesn't even know.
It's a slow-paced psychological horror film about a group of people in an isolated location that deals with the following themes: a relationship breaking down, betrayal by a significant other, the loss of mutual friends, grief and sadness, escape from a toxic relationship, and moving on.
Let's look at another example. Overall, TCD's review of Across the Spider-Verse is...
So wait, that was wrong? Maybe his definition of theme is different than the drinker. That's fine. But you have to explain what you're talking about. You can't just say, here's his list of themes, which seem pretty accurate. And it depends on your definition of what a theme is. To me, it is what the story is about. And you can pick apart an individual scenario or scene in a film and say, this is the theme in this scene. This is what's going on. This is what this scene means. This is what it's about. It's what's going on in the scene. And Drinker just says, well, this is what happens in it. That's the meaning behind this scene. He's pulling back the surface and going, okay, yeah, it's about a relationship overall. Fine. The next scene is a bonfire. It means this, blah, 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 as he goes. You can do that for every scene if you really want to. But that's fair.
And now he's just going to talk about Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse, yes.
And why is he? Why does he keep using? Why can't he use the common name that everybody uses for the drinker, which is the drinker or drinker? What is it with these weirdos that always use other names, as if they can't name the beast? As if you must not say the name of the devil, so he says TCD. Whoever has said TCD, please enlighten me. Is there something happened where that suddenly changed?
Maybe it's like a hormone or a drug to him. I'm taking some TCD right now. Let me watch him for another hour and analyze his shtick.
I don't know.
Well, there is a T he should take, that is for sure.
You should have called him CD. That would have been cooler. I don't know.
Anyway.
It's nothing magical, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's mostly one dude's feelings about a movie, and who am I to disparage a man's feelings? But then he goes on this weird tangent into Peter B. Parker's masculinity, lamenting the fact that the only straight white male character in the movie isn't treated with the special care that he deserves.
Also, I can't shake the feeling that the script is doing everything in its power to play down Peter Parker, like it's afraid the audience will somehow start rooting for him over Miles if he's shown to be too capable and confident, while the second film morphs him into a bumbling, hapless father in a pink bathrobe. Is this some weird attempt to mock and belittle the Spider-Man that most people know and love, who incidentally just happens to be the only straight white man in the entire movie? I don't know, man, it just kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth, that's all.
So let's think about this for a moment. In the middle of his Spider-Verse review, Will complains that the film didn't handle Peter B. Parker perfectly.
Will?
Fine. I felt...
Dude, can you stick to one fucking name?
Hold on, who's Will?
Eric?
Who's Will? Is that his name?
The drinker?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go with this YouTube name, real name bullshit.
Yeah, we assume that's his name. He never made the connection. He just said Will. We're like, oh, is that...
You just said Will?
Yeah.
He just assumes Will?
Where's the professional distance? Where's your professional distance here? What is it with you leftist assholes that always have to go use the real names of people? It's like this passive-aggressive thing of, hey, here's some real-life data about the person in case you live in the vicinity, so you can go visit and throw some eggs in his face or a pie or something.
I think they like pronouns so much they want to use nouns now. They want to jump to other forms of grammar.
He wants to send him into Midsommar.
Yeah,
So
this other an ideology that insists on the magical titles that the pronouns really are. They use them as royal titles, or in the same manner. Do not respect professional distance and have to call out people they have no direct connection to by their first names. That is simply disrespectful. You do not do that. It means it is taking a position of either. So the leftists always very often do this, and it is either as to pretend they're collegial, they're good friends with you, or they do it to deliberately step over that boundary. Like the collegial one is also stepping over a boundary. It's a manipulation tactic. The other one is to impose authority, like a parent, and I'm talking to a child. That's why I'm using your first name instead of at least the last name, or his artist's name, his artistic pseudonym, which is the critical drinker. No, you go to a first name basis. I don't think you are on a first name basis. If you want to talk about respecting other people, why are you not respecting other people? That's the big question. Because you don't want to respect other people when they seem like they don't agree with you, or when they make the arguments that you do agree with, but in not the way that you want them to make them, or it's simply just people that you don't want to have making the arguments because they're the wrong people to make the arguments.
I'm still confused.
Although the argument should stand on its own.
Yeah, I'm still confused on that second point he was trying to make where he agreed with the conclusion and how he got there. He didn't. I was like, okay, but you're saying exactly the same thing. But apparently not good enough. I don't mind nitpicking details, but not when the conclusion, like, it's like you hate a film, I hate a film, I dislike the music, you dislike the use of the flute in the music. We're still talking about disliking the music. Who cares? It's the same thing. Anyway.
I saw for this first name basis thing. And you see this trick, but you see this trick with, since the chat is talking about Mr. Drumpf, they use the first name basis for women on the left and for all men, or especially not left people. They go on a last name basis because the last name has distance. That means that it's not something you're connected to, and someone you're not connected to, you can be harsher towards. While somebody on a first name basis with like Hillary, you will feel closer to. That's why they play this game with who gets the first name basis, who gets the last name basis in politics. Because it is, I find it horrible that you talk about a potential presidential candidate, about your potential president, on a first name basis in the news. That is the height of manipulation. Another example, I saw a musically well done play of the Barbier of Sevilla from I think it's the University of Hamburg, their orchestra. But the guy who led the orchestra and who explained what was going on and the people on the stage and who was doing what, he talked on a first name basis to the audience. It seemed like he's talking to a kindergarten. And there were a couple comments in the comment section that complained about that because it's just absolutely horrible. It is also very immersion breaking, and there's a disrespect also for the art at the same time. So the left doesn't actually respect boundaries. Like narcissists don't respect boundaries in the first place, but they always enforce their own. Their own boundaries have to be respected. That's where you get the pronouns. That's what the endless, infinite hypocrisy of the left is, because it is all rooted in narcissism.
All right,
it functions exactly the same. Cults function exactly the same.
Let's get back to the video. Okay.
Proposes a possible reason for this, that being the filmmaker's specific distaste for heterosexual white men, and accepts that as the most probable solution, moving on. Just like that, his core audience has been convinced that Spider-Verse is yet another example of the anti-male agenda. But let's think of some other...
It has elements of that. It is less obnoxious than other things, but the ideology is in it. It's a bloody surprise that Miles' father, the policeman, made it for that long.
Possible solutions to this problem, shall we? Spider-Man is famous for being constantly depressed and under duress, never able to achieve the life that he so obviously deserves. It's only natural that when he finally reaches this point, we'll see a different side of him. Unsurprisingly, that side is giddy, talkative, excitable. Is it possible, perhaps, that maybe this movie is actually trying to endear us to this character? Certainly makes more sense to me than Sony simply wanting to knock men down a peg.
The difference is that Peter Parker always managed to cope with that, get it in balance, work it out. While this Peter, he succumbed to it all. He's like a worse version of Mr. Incredible who got out of shape.
But hey, maybe they just felt like they...
Mike, do you want to say something?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Okay.
Hey, maybe they just felt like they needed more comic relief, something that Spider-Man is famous for. Maybe a million different possibilities. I don't know why Sony handled the character the way they did, but TCD simply takes his narrativized version of events as essentially fact. He creates yet another Strawman, knocks it down, and celebrates another victory. Take Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Wait.
Rotom in the chat mentions, before we move on to the next movie, mentions also Miles' dad's name is Jefferson Davis, meaning Miles does not have the name of his father.
I'm a bit confused.
Or at least this man.
How is that a straw man? Because he's explaining what he thinks why this happened.
Maybe they didn't want to confuse it with the trumpet player, Miles Davis.
Well, I'm just saying, if it's a straw man, meaning, okay, here's an example of a thing. Let me make another example and attack that. That's a straw man. All he's saying is, well, I think this is because Marvel or the director or whatever doesn't like straight white men, right? That's just him speculating. We don't know exactly why. It seems like that to him. Why is the elder Peter Parker mopey and depressed and crying in the shower?
Well, the thing is that you see this pattern with almost every superhero, and you see this pattern very hard on the comics. So even if you want to say Drinker's like overreaching or whatever, the pattern is still there, especially in the second film.
Okay. I just want to know where the Strawman is. I just want to know where Drinker's Strawman is that he's attacking. I'm not seeing it. I could be wrong. I don't know. This is a bit nitpicky because it's like saying, I think this video game was bad because the developer or designer has a thing for people in purple boots. And you're like, maybe they do. There's lots of purple boots in this video game. Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? I don't know. I just think it's an observation. It's a bias. And that's the examples I'm putting forth. When you can see all the purple boots in this game, you're like, that's weird. Where are the blue boots? Where are the black boots? Yada, yada. I mean, that's pretty... I'm saying there's a bias somewhere. Critical Drinker is saying there's a bias somewhere. It's not a straw man. I'm trying to wrap my brain around this. I don't know. Anyway.
Don't need to use examples.
Whatever, it's fine. I could make up all kinds of reasons why I think that's the case, either through logical deduction or whatever.
Yeah, Marvel has actively pushed Miles Morales so hard. They have been trying to replace Peter with him. But it's just not sticking.
Okay.
This is if you try to replace Luke Skywalker with Rey, and it's just not sticking.
Ironic, because Spider-Man's power is to stick.
Ha ha ha.
In this review, the Critical Drinker complains that Angela Bassett's character, Queen Ramonda, lectures a room of white UN representatives.
Skip forward a year or so, and all is not well in the Kingdom of Wakanda. Queen Ramonda attends a meeting at the UN to lay the smackdown on some toxic white males. Because, of course, what other demographic could they possibly be?
This is already a gigantic fucking stretch, but even if it
Is
weren't,
it?
it's sure inconvenient.
What's on the screen? Tell me what's on the screen.
That this movie
some
includes
guy.
a far more significant scene of the same character.
No, I'm asking him. So what is on the screen in that scene? Bunch of white people.
Room of black people, directly targeting a black woman, no less.
Where is her treacherous husband now? But in a place where she can visit, if she wished, mine!
This counter-argument doesn't hold because this is Wakanda internal, while the outside world of Wakanda is portrayed as white. Bad, outside people, white. That's the problem. That's the issue.
She kind of sounded Scottish there for a second. I don't know.
Did she not learn the proper Wakandan accent? Dialect?
She sounded like Drinker. Or something.
It's with the ancestors!
For some bizarre, unknowable reason, TCD counts Ramonda's unkind treatment of some white guys as evidence the film has a problem with white guys, but when she's unkind to some black people, that's just another normal scene. Here...
The main problem with the whole Black Panther thing is that it is completely hypocritical garbage in the first place. Because that also amazing high-tech country...
Can't even save their own leader from a fucking...
Number one. Number two, let all the other black Africans starve and be taken as slaves and sold to the evil white people overseas. And now, in the modern era, when Wakanda is opening up, their warrior women go anywhere with this stance of what was it they said? We have jurisdiction wherever we go. These are fucking fascists. They're world domination Nazis, just in black.
Did they say that in the movie though?
They said it in Falcon and the Winter Soldiers.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Again, we see the straw man at work. He invents a problem with the film, one that makes legitimately no sense, dismisses it as bad, and then carries on as though he's not lowering the...
Can we remember that the great end of the movie was that Wakanda is now helping black people in America, where they now build a community center in the Black Quarter of New York, a rich country, and not where the slaves were brought to, at least the ancestors of the people who lived there, and are still not helping the other Africans. It's a bit fucked up nonsense. It's a merry bullshit.
Collective hours at an astonishing rate, contributing to a narrative that one literally has to obfuscate to maintain. In his video, Why Modern Movies Suck, They Hate Men, Part 1, the drinker makes several arguments, but one of them stuck out to me more than the rest. He evidences his claim that modern movies hate men by listing several established male characters that have been brought back in sequels.
He's not gonna fuck you just for pandering to the ideology of whoever you want to fuck you.
Shadow of their former selves.
Remember all those awesome, heroic male characters that you liked when you were growing up? Well, forget about them because they were never actually heroes in the first place, and modern Hollywood is determined to prove it to you.
Essentially, he's arguing that Hollywood hates men so much that they have to denigrate them repeatedly in order to make way for new, more diverse leads.
You don't need to put that in quotation marks, that's literally what they do. They have fucking diversity quotas. That's the whole point what the DEI, or rather DIE program is about. It's called diversity, inclusion, equity. Equity is a communist thing. The diversity inclusion thing, that's divide and conquer. That's what this is all about. How can you be... Are you lying? Or are you really that uninformed? Because you have a very, very nasty look about your face. Like you are angry. What are you angry at? That somebody's calling out the communist strategy?
Yes.
Well, then we need to treat him like a Nazi, because that's the same fucking shit that they did. Just against different people. You are for punching Nazis, right? You ascribe to an ideology. You're right now defending an ideology that does the exact same thing as the Nazis did. So do we need to punch you?
He should punch himself.
Well, it won't come to that.
If he could aim correctly.
Is that since men are the leads of almost every popular action franchise, any sort of trope that affects the genre is going to...
Yeah, because Hollywood is incapable of writing women action heroes these days. They were able... I think we talked about Alien before. The biggest, bestest example.
Alien.
Sarah Connor.
Yeah,
Ripley?
Terminator.
Yeah, it was good 80s stuff. Good female action heroes. Hollywood is incapable of writing those nowadays. That's the simple problem. If it writes them, it writes them unrealistically. The thing about Ripley and Sarah Connor was that they acted in a realistic fashion. Their power levels, if you will, was realistic. That's what made you able to connect with them. They weren't the big brutes that could lift building blocks, but due to their limitations, there's an even bigger impact when they are in danger. Yet they made it out, and they fought tooth and nail. That is what makes the bloody difference. We don't see that today. Today, all the female, when there's a female action hero, she always has, technically, she has superpowers. Even though the setting doesn't give that. Because she needs to be just as good as the men. Or better. Which usually means that the men have to be portrayed dumber. We had this in Game of Thrones, where suddenly, when Sansa Stark was written up, everybody the writers were so incompetent they couldn't write intelligent lines, because you can't write intelligent lines if you're not intelligent yourself. So what they did was they wrote everyone else to be dumber than her. everybody remembers the scene where she walked through Winterfell, I think it was, and then gave instructions about how to make the armor to people who've been making armor their entire lives. And her instructions were brain dead. The only reason you would say, yes, my lady, would be, oh, I don't want to offend the bratty child of the Starks that I know throws temper tantrums and will probably call to my execution if she thinks I dare disagree with her bullshit. Fucking hell.
Disproportionately affect male characters. This trend of an older...
It does. In the West, it's almost everything. The exceptions we can count down on one hand.
Of an older character serving as a reluctant or past prime mentor to the new lead is so prevalent that it appears in films like Harry Potter, Kung...
Those are before the big fashion happened. The woke fashion, the SJW fashion.
Hunger Games, Top Gun Maverick.
Hunger Games is a female action hero. Top Gun is outside of this whole thing. It's deliberate that movie was attacked by the left for not being ideological. Just like some of the others that came out in recent years that were successful because they didn't contain the ideology. If they had, they would have flopped, just like all this other shit. Give me the proportion of all the movies that did this bullshit. Mention Ghostbusters 2016. Huh? Mention the Star Wars sequels. They're full of this shit. Mention the MCU. Since not just since it began before Infinity, but after it was just downhill, this crap. How many remakes have been made that were just this? And they are deliberately made so in order to sully your memories of the old thing so that you lose interest and veneration for the old thing. Because that's how the human mind works. It works through association. This is the strategy of Antonio Gramsci. All cultural institutions have to be captured. The economic bullshit arguments were not enough to take over, to take control of society. Gramsci made the argument, we also have to make the cultural argument. We have to also take all the cultural institutions. And that is what this is. Why are you so disingenuous? Have you not seen any of all the popular shit? Because they always go for the popular shit. That's why God of War Ragnarok is garbage. That's why Bayonetta 3 is garbage. Bloody hell. That's why Paradox Games puts in more and more historical revisionism, historical fantasy to its historical war games. That's why that happens. That's why the Google AI now shows us, when we ask for historically accurate pictures of historical figures, it gives us black and Asian people. As if European kings and queens were blacks and Asians. And the AI admits, when you ask it, like, why are you doing that? Well, I take your prompt and then I add extra words like diverse and inclusive to it, and so I improve the prompt, I fix the prompt, and then give the image generator that modified prompt, and that's why those other pictures come out. It's historical revisionism. It's trying to control the past in order to control the future. It's Orwellian. Why are you in denial of this? This is happening right now.
Oh my god, I thought that was a meme. That's crazy. That's actually
that's really happening.
Jesus Christ.
Google is in control of communists.
All right. Anyway, let's get on with this video.
The wokest of them all, empire-seated anti-male bias in here somewhere, but the critical drinker has made his case so badly that his entire video on the subject has taught us nothing. Whenever you deign to call a person sexist for disliking virtually every modern female character, they're liable to fall back on two particular women that they seem to like quite a bit, those being Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor.
Consider Sarah Connor from the Terminator. Sarah Connor.
They're just because they're the iconic archetypes of this, and we would all be happy if more action heroes were like, if you have a female action hero, they would be like them for the reasons stated previously.
From the Terminator, and I mean the real Sarah Connor.
But what do you give us? You give us Rey Skywalker. You give us Michael Burnham.
Well,
a woman by the name of Michael. Is that maybe a jab at Michelle Obama? just wondering here.
Well, even that Sarah Connor example is funny too. 'Cause, yeah, isn't the young one like already experienced and doesn't lose a fight and whatnot?
No, the young one is at first she's normal. She's just a normal woman. But the events of the first movie, they turn her to actually man up, if you will, because she now knows what's going on.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about because he's pointing at Genesis, Sarah Connor in Genesis.
Well, I think any Sarah Connor example, really.
Oh, okay.
Not this.
Okay, does it not get a bit old to people like this, that every single time that they're asked to bring up an example of a strong female character, it's freaking Sarah Connor from Terminator or it's Ripley from Alien? Does it not get old realizing that you've got two examples that you keep coming back to?
Who cares?
We would like, as I just said, we would like to have more. There were some in Star Trek. There were Ivanova in Babylon 5. She was my girl when I was young.
Yeah, but you could pick anyone. There's so many women. Like, what's the difference? What's wrong with
you get Claudia Black in Farscape?
Yeah, like Dana Scully from X-Files. Like, what do you do? Like, yeah, she's a main character and she's a heroine.
Yeah, we have more of that. But when you specifically ask for action movie, we first think of the traditional action movie, and man, those are the most iconic action movie.
Yeah, but even
with
recently,
female,
we have
stars.
all the females from the Game of Thrones show. They're all killers. They're all crazy, if to some degree, but everyone else is anyway. So, I mean, what difference does it make whether they bring up those two from the 80s all the time?
This argument is, oh, see, you only have two. That's why it's justified to rewrite you all.
Yeah,
instead of actually making something good that's new.
Bring up like Buffy and Xena and all those other shows that all these crazy things happening that just watch for shits and giggles. That they're fun after school and you just have your dinner and you're watching a crazy TV. Like, I'd watch Sailor Moon after school. Why not? It's great.
If only Buffy had good choreography.
Yeah, well.
You can even go to video
They did that for one episode and then they probably realized it's too expensive.
It would be a lot more convincing if it wasn't that like super easy for people to predict which person which two people, I guess, you're going to talk about in your video about it. The reason I bring this up is because the very trope that the critical drinker complains is affecting men also happened to one of these ladies. In 2019's Terminator Dark Fate, Sarah Connor returns to the franchise as a shadow of her character in Terminator and the vastness.
Yeah, that was shit. She's just a raging man-hating feminist there.
Well, those films.
It doesn't mean that this is what the ideology does.
It doesn't really matter.
It has to be put into everyone's mouth.
It doesn't really matter how you argue a good or bad character. Those films are bad, period. So it doesn't matter if they're male, female, robot, human. Like, they're all shit. They're all garbage characterization. So what's this guy saying? Oh, it was characterized poorly in this one. It's like, yeah, the story sucked. It was dumb.
I mean,
because the ideology has to own everything. It has to propagandize everything and everyone. That's the whole point. That is what Gramsci said. It has to be everywhere. It has to be inescapable, so that nobody can have a quiet second anymore, ever. So that, at best, people get tired and will just roll over and accept the ideology as unbeatable.
All right.
Year too. She's, as far as I can tell, because I can't bring myself to watch this movie all the way through, one of the most thorough examples of character assassination that exemplifies almost every trope that TCD complains about happening to male characters. In summary,
You have not watched Terminator 2 to the end?
I think he means Dark Fate.
Oh, I think he means Dark Fate. Because he was talking about the character assassination of Sarah Connor.
Okay. Oh, so you do agree it's shit? You do agree doing that is shit?
But he's saying...
He just doesn't see it. He just doesn't want to see it when it's done to men?
But, yeah, well, that's the thing. He's like, oh, well, it happens to women too. Here's this example. It's like, okay.
Oh, God. This is what propaganda does to you. The crazy thing is, this is what's so perfect about this, also sinister perfect about this ideology. The agents it creates, the cult members it creates when it possesses them, they're not necessarily aware that it's all propaganda, that they are in a cult, in a political, ideological cult, or they believe it's political. They just turn into mental robots. It destroys your ability to think logically, objectively, critically. And then you start spouting this hypocritical nonsense like he does here. In the best of interpretations, he doesn't understand he's doing this. He doesn't notice it. Because the socialist garbage destroys your self-awareness.
Okay.
He's angry about a supposedly misandrist trope that's been a part of the genre since day one, ignoring the statistical reason for its disproportionate impact, and the obvious counter-evidence that this trope...
What is the trope?
Wait, did he mispronounce? I could have sworn he mispronounced misandrist. They're going misandrist for a moment.
English has no pronunciation rules. Let's continue.
This trope applies to women whenever the opportunity presents itself. I know he's seen this movie because I've watched his review and this connection doesn't come up once. Maybe he thinks these arguments are unconvincing or insufficient in proving his point wrong, but he hasn't contended with them.
Wait. You're saying because he hasn't addressed other arguments, therefore his existing point about Sarah Connor being shit is wrong? Or what's his argument? What are you talking about? What's the he's not arguing the way I think. Like, yeah, and what's the problem here?
Such a clear example of somebody who has the capacity for intelligent argumentation, but just is stuck in sophistry, and he's probably not aware. He doesn't give me the vibe that he's aware. He doesn't give me the vibe that he's lying, that he's trying to con us. He truly believes what he's saying. He's not seeing through the bullshit.
One cynicism is reduced to near worthlessness because he's contending with the weakest possible version of his opponent's points. The drinker has the...
Again, what is your problem? He's attacking the weakest argument from some opponent that we don't even know what you're talking about. Why isn't he arguing the way I would argue? It's like, what are you talking about? This is silly. It's like, Whisp, why aren't you referring to all of Aristotle's philosophy of poetry? Like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you do that? Like,
because he was wrong about the solar system.
Why would I bring up those things? Why would I bring up catharsis for no reason? It's the strongest argument to make about media. It's like to Aristotle, maybe.
Aristoteles was wrong about the solar system, but he was right about substance and accidents.
This is so silly. Why isn't he talking about what I know? It's like, he's not you? Like, what's wrong with that?
Well, precisely, he's not him.
interesting habit of incorrectly repeating arguments made by his opposition to his audience. It's something that we saw in the Mary Sue video, but I think one of the wildest examples of this happens in his video about the sudden defeminization of women in movies, where he reads Scarlett Johansson's words about her complex feelings about her early Marvel appearances.
Quote, "While Iron Man 2 was really fun and had a lot of great moments in it, the character is so sexualized, you know? She's really talked about like she's a piece of something, like a possession or a thing or whatever, like a piece of ass, really. And Tony even refers to her as something like that at one point. I want some."
She literally is trained to be that. She's trained by a Russian special unit to be a femme fatale. To use all her sexual wiles to get information out of others.
Is that the scene where Tony's looking for a bodyguard or something? Like not a bodyguard, but someone to like an assistant, and
replace Pepper or whatever.
Yeah, and she like body slams into the ground or something. He's like, "What the? Oh, you're hired," or like whatever. Like he's boxing or something in the boxing ring, and she just grabs him and throws him.
She fights Happy, and then Tony and Pepper are like discussing about her, and Tony like fights her hot and whatnot.
I'm not seeing,
because she is.
I'm not seeing the problem here.
The whole female physique.
Yeah, but
is evolutionarily developed that way.
But even with
in order to be
magnetic. But even with Johansson saying these things, it's like I don't care what she has to say about her character. It's irrelevant to the story.
I'm not even sure I believe her when she says that.
The character is so sexualized. Sometimes.
Who played the naked alien woman in what's the name? Under the Skin?
Scarlett Johansson.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Weird indie movie that only 3 people watched, but hey, it was good.
After a pint of absinthe. Anyway, what she's basically saying here is that she feels the character was treated as a simple sex object in her early appearances, and it's only recently that she's begun to come into her own and get treated as a fully realized human being in her own right, freed from the shackles of sexual attractiveness.
It's almost funny how bad this is. He reads her exact words, the precise claim that she's making, and then says, in summary, she means this completely different thing. Nowhere did she say anything even...
No, that was sarcasm. You didn't catch it.
Is this one of those times where we say Donkey is just making a joke? He's not being serious? Whenever we're trying to criticize Donkey, and the fans would say, "Oh, he's being funny," until I agree with what he's saying, and then he's being serious.
Well, in this case, the drinker was talking sarcastically. I'm autistic and I caught that.
Oh.
Man, this guy's really frustrated. He's not bullshitting us. He is genuinely pissed.
I just don't understand this problem.
He believes what he's saying. He is completely ideologically possessed. Because the way he talks, he sounds like he is capable of logical thought.
Well, he's too angry.
Objective thinking.
He's way too emotional.
But it's because he's ideologically possessed. That is what ideological possession makes you angry, when you see something that doesn't agree with the dogma that has possessed you.
I hope it's
it's turning you fanatic.
I hope
that's what that does.
I hope he's just a film student. Like that would explain a little bit more for me, because he's so.
And it's because Arts University is full of socialist as well. You have to take these fucking courses to get enough points nowadays.
I'll just say they're a bunch of far out weirdos.
Still ideology, so yeah.
All right.
That she wants to be freed from the shackles of sexual attractiveness, whatever that even means. She said she didn't feel comfortable with her character being
You obviously haven't read your feminist literature then.
Treated as an object or a possession. I don't know. Personally, I feel like it would be nice if he put in even a modicum of effort into learning his opponent's positions instead of...
What opponent? What are we talking about? What is
the overall point? I don't understand this guy. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to confuse me. He's trying to confuse himself.
Oh, it's the problem with American Anglo debate culture. Everything has to be a debate. Everything has to be about winning. That's why you're so full of sophistry.
I'm assuming it's the article.
You can't have a discussion.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's the article in this case, just this specific sentence of whatever drinker read, and then he referred to it sarcastically. I think that's what he's talking about, because I'm not sure where he's going with this.
shadowed fake points and using blatant misrepresentations to further toxify the film critique landscape. So what, do I need to keep going?
Objection.
Is this somehow insufficient in demonstrating that this has been a consistent pattern in his YouTube videos for years at this point? He does the same shit in his reviews of Kenobi, Barbie, Black Widow, Everything Everywhere All at Once, She-Hulk. The evidence that he and his fans use to demonstrate the existence of this nebulous anti-male...
You just mentioned a lot of shows, Everything Everywhere All at Once being the exception, that were all doing the putting men down thing that the ideology does. They all did this. And some in the most disgusting, insulting, denigrating ways imaginable. Or putting up all these unlikable Mary Sues. Are you listening to yourself?
Yeah, I think if he did not include the Mary Sue element of this video, I'd probably pay attention to him a bit more, because it's too complicated for the average person. It's too complicated for the average film critic, film school guy. This is primarily for someone who focuses on narrative and writing and knows fan fiction and knows science fiction and knows all the nuances of this kind of patterns. It's the biggest, most complex trope. And he's like, well, he only used 4 criteria. Why isn't he using the basic criteria? It's like, dude, forget the trope. You're just not even making any sense of definition of terms. You're just like, well, my definition is one criteria. His is 4 or 5 or whatever. His is wrong, therefore. That's the opposite of how that should work. The bigger the criteria, the more stringent and the more strict the argument becomes for something to be a thing. And because I argue on behalf of the layman, therefore the layman's correct, which is kind of like throwing out all the knowledge to say that the critical drinker doesn't know writing, he doesn't know movies, he doesn't know anything. He just knows, but he knows a little bit more about the Mary Sue trope than I do, but I'm going to throw that away as well because it's not simple enough. It's like, dude, that's not how knowledge works. If I have
you can't throw away 90% of a definition just to prove your point.
Yeah, if you have more information, that means you have more criteria, more reasons for something for A to be B. You don't toss that out as immaterial. That's lying.
I think you should read Aristoteles.
Oh, really? Everyone should be. Yeah, I agree. But
everyone should read Aristoteles.
Depending
I'm
what,
not
though.
even joking.
It depends.
Read Socrates and read Aristoteles.
Don't read metaphysics. Don't read Politica. There's a lot of things you should not read because it's too much. Maybe Nicomachean Ethics. That could work. That's good. It's more
that's a good one.
Easy to digest.
And read Rhetoric.
The Poetica or the Poetics. Yeah.
No. The book Rhetoric. It's great.
Oh, that's a bit hard. It's
hard to read. It is a hard read. You will take a break after every damn sentence.
Yeah, you will.
But it is a really good book. After you've read Rhetoric, you will not be fooled by this shit, and you will be better able to articulate yourself because you automatically hold yourself to a higher standard.
You wouldn't
because you now know how the labyrinth of articulation works.
Yeah, you wouldn't make videos like this. Like you just go, wait a second, this is childish. There's gaps in my knowledge. I have a bias. Like you'd be aware of all these things before you'd even start. So, that in a perfect world, everyone should read The Smartest People. Yeah. But it's hard.
It's one of those books. Like if you have trouble sitting down and reading difficult stuff, it's one of those books. I'd say have them in your bathroom next to your toilet, and every time you take a shit, you read one sentence from that book.
You're going to end up using it as toilet paper if that's the case. You're going to be so pissed off. You're like, I can't take this guy anymore.
Smart. That's
when the shit goes down, man.
That is a sad thing to hear that you think that.
I'm telling you, the average person who, if they were to try to read Aristotle, that's how they would.
The average person will gain 15 IQ points.
If they could even digest the first paragraph.
That's why you do it on the toilet.
This is like asking someone
and mentally
who has never studied the topic to go lift 300 pounds in weightlifting. Just do it.
The physical shit. You process out the physical shit so that you have have space to get the mental good stuff from the book.
I think you should start with Plato. Okay, start with Plato.
No, don't read Plato. Plato is an idiot.
Start with Plato.
He's an idiot.
I don't care.
If you read Plato, you end up believing social.
If you start with Plato, you could build up your brain capacity to Aristotle. After you read all of Plato, the styles are completely anyway. Let's not talk about that. That's completely different. Anyway.
I would say okay. Read Plato where he writes what Aristotle said. What Socrates said, because he wrote down what Socrates said, because Socrates didn't write down what he said.
Anyway, let's keep going. Thread knot. Thank you,
Plato
sir.
I give you.
The tyrant won't tolerate humor because humor mocks what causes suffering, and the tyrant is the cause of said suffering. Tyrants hate being mocked. Depends on the tyrant.
Yeah, but this is that is because the humor hurts the ego.
Anyway, we've got less than a minute. Oh boy. Again, this is one of those examples where this fellow should have sat down with someone in, first year philosophy class and say, what do you think about my opinion of the critical drinker? Here's my essay. Although he didn't write an essay, he just wrote a bunch of rambling points.
That makes no sense.
You'd be like, well, wait a second here.
You write that. Read Aristotle, then write it again.
The tutorial leader would be like, no, read this guy over here. Read some Immanuel Kant. Read some.
Oh God.
Read some
Plato ice cream now.
Always start with the Greeks.
No, you can go to Hume. You can go to Descartes. You can do Spinoza. He's pretty good. There's all kinds of great guys you could start off that are easier to read than Aristotle. Anyway, let's keep going with 1 minute left.
Plot in Hollywood is so weak that I find myself having to desperately search for any possible reason that he could be right, putting in seemingly more effort.
He's so wrong. I cannot spend any more time trying to find out where he's right. That's great. That's
because he just doesn't want to admit where he's right, because he said that he admitted the drinker being right in a couple times, which completely defeated his points.
Well, he agreed with him. That's the problem. He in the first 5 minutes, he's like, "Well, I agree with him." At the end, it's like, what's the problem?
Yeah, he's right.
He's trying to hate the drinker. He's trying to dismantle. This is the thing. He's trying to dismantle the drinker's points because the drinker is opposed to the ideology in most of his videos.
All right.
But deep down, because this is an intelligent guy, deep down he knows actually he's right. But I don't want him to be right. But he is right. And he is in that cognitive dissonance.
I think he knows he's
so he has a chance to come out of this garbage. He has a chance to break the spell.
Yeah, I think he knows the drinker is trying to be funny most of the time. And even if he takes what he said literally as an intellectual disagreement or whatever, he's still going to run with it the way he knows, which is, I think it's X, and he hasn't disproven that. Therefore, X is right. I'm going to run with X. And it's like, okay, sure. But you have to address what the drinker said in relation to why and how. And don't make made up opponents. Don't accuse them for not thinking the same way as you. That's kind of weird. There's just this weird stuff happening in this video, which I'm not sure what's going on. And I wish it was nuanced. I wish it was like he has the insider info that no one else has. And we'd be like, oh, that's so esoteric. I didn't even think of that. Where'd you get it? And he'd be referring to his teachers or whatever, some playwright, like, whatever, great. Go with that. And but you're still agreeing with him half the time. So I'm like, I don't know. It's a weird take.
I will also say, because of this frame we're on right now, you are right now so full of anger. You have murder eyes. Those are the eyes of someone who wants to commit violence. You need to meditate. Sit down and meditate. And not any bullshit meditation. Get an instruction for Zen meditation.
Yeah, when you start
Soto Zen. Best Soto Zen.
When you start saying that's the dumbest possible version of the argument, or I'm getting tired of hearing the Ripley and Sarah Connor examples, I'm like, are they wrong? Like, what's the problem with these things that are technically?
I don't like that you have counter
it's
arguments.
funny.
I don't like that you have counter arguments. Stop making
Yeah, man,
counter arguments.
I'm tired of 2 + 2 = 4. You know?
Anyway, we got less than 40 seconds.
At a certain point, do I really have to be the person to make your arguments for you? But okay, this video was not written
how'd you do
as
that,
a
though?
thorough debunking of this supposed Hollywood agenda. It's simply a demonstration that this narrative is built on a house of cards. The proponents of this
Really?
Have you ever listened to these people talking? Hollywood people? The supposed Hollywood agenda that they all cheer for each other for on every fucking article, on every fucking gala, on every fucking award show.
Yeah, I actually.
What are you watching?
I actually got tired of.
How are you doing your research? What are you basing this ignorance on?
I got tired of talking about that in Hollywood. Like what was the last one I did? It was with that black lady from played Reva on the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And I'm like, you know what? This has been going on for years. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of talking about what Disney and Marvel and all these other big franchise people are doing. Talking about representation and women power. Just like, what are we doing? This is not fun. I don't care that an actor is doing this and they're black or white or brown. Like, this is so silly. And all you have to do is listen to these people. The actors themselves think this. It's boring. I don't care. I don't watch it. I have not watched any of these Marvel shows. The only thing I have watched is coming over to visit my dad. Like, what are you watching, Dad? Oh, I'm watching this. It's like, oh, I'll sit down with you and watch it. Like, this is dumb. Like, okay. But he likes it because it's silly and it likes some relaxing.
Likes what?
Some of the Star Wars stuff. I don't know what they're called. I think it's Andor. I suppose it's the one that's still ongoing. I don't know what it's called. It's either the Andor one or the Mandalorian one. I don't know. But he stopped watching Discovery, a few other Star Trek things. But that's it. Like, I watch it because he's in the room, and I'm like, okay, cool. We'll watch it together. Other than that, no, I stopped watching all this crap. I'm just not interested. I'm more than happy reading manga, reading actual good storylines with things I want to read about, which also involves gaming and sometimes some games I play. But other than that, no, I just checked out. So hopefully someone will enlighten me about something worth watching. But no, I don't think the drinker's wrong talking about Hollywood for the past 8, 9, 10 years.
I would suggest to him to then instead watch Desparo's coverage of Hollywood, because he does very good compilations of everything that is being said by these people, that is written by these people. Evidence all throughout, without pause, and in a humorous fashion. Go watch Desparo, he's funny.
Narrative may be bullheadedly confident, but they have to stretch the truth to a genuinely insane degree in order to defend themselves. And their special little guy, the person I would consider to be the most effective advocate for their beliefs, has proven time and time again that, at least to him,
It's not about
legitimate film criticism.
it's about sending
The message.
thanks for watching.
He's right. The drinker is right. It is about the message of the film as opposed to the quality. That's we've known that for a while now.
Do better.
Anyway,
Do better.
I got my comment ready. What
happened? Did your balls drop off?
Do better.
Anyway,
It's a guy like me. Just kidding.
Maybe we got some memes. I
I
don't
could
know.
never be Captain America because I'm black. Do better.
There we go.
We don't talk with these people, meaning the people who work in the bank, who he implies to be white, but they tend to be all Jewish actors.
All right.
Fucking and the Winter Soldier is full of little things that are absolutely insane.
Oh my God! Whisp strong against communists and trenders. Weak against bad fish meals.
Yes.
We better keep that a secret. We don't want to start using that.
Echo in the comics can mimic the fighting style of whoever she's fighting against, basically Taskmaster, but with Cassandra Cain's backstory. All right, fair enough.
Oh, it was not hearing. It was Hecht. No, it was not. The other way around. Oh, fuck off. I'm giving up.
All right. In the show, calls upon the spirits of her ancestors to pull a Deus Ex Machina. In the comics and show, not a dolphin on the Sega Genesis. Oh, I like that.
The show was really pretentious with the ancestor shit.
Yeah. Well, everyone, if you got an emulator, go play Echo the Dolphin. Plot holes ruin stories. They're bad. Patrick, just shut up about plot holes, Smud. No.
Is he in jail? Why is he wearing a black and white striped shirt?
Oh, God.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's great. Guy Ferd, a Toku show from the 97s, has better fight scenes than Echo. Well, I mean, we're talking about Japan. I mean, everyone's pretty much a ninja, so.
Yeah, they actually try with the choreography in the shows.
They all know how to drift.
2 drinks later. Oh no, I'm not brave enough for politics. Anakin violations the Republic to democracy.
What is it now? Is it a republic or a democracy?
It's both. It's fine.
That's bullshit. The Democratic Republic is the specific form of the dictatorship of the proletariat. Quote Friedrich Engels.
Okay.
Liar.
I'm not kidding.
Species human, trained by Obi-Wan Kenobi, rank Jedi Master. Visible confusion. Wait a second. Ray Skywalker.
You turned it against me.
Liar.
Was Anakin really a married? Yeah, that's the. Yeah, I've seen a few of those.
I think I've seen that. Yes.
There it is. IDR Labs. That's the one I wanted. That I really like.
Santa marries too.
That's great.
If it's not, is it stupid?
30 awkward child stars who turned out insanely hot. I don't. I hope.
Public service announcement. All adults were at some point children.
Killing. Oh my God! I've seen a security hologram of Anakin killing younglings. Oh, that's good. I like that one.
That's a beer?
Yeah. Jungling.
Jungling? Why are you writing it with UE and not U?
I don't know. My friend, there are no good Star Wars crossovers. Me, an intellectual. Skinner, these hams are obviously grilled. From my point of view, they are steamed. Well, then you are lost.
That's good.
You underestimate my power, Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, God.
He has one arm left? Is that...
Yeah, he had one arm left.
Okay.
That's the arm that he chokes people with.
All right. The Clone Wars is just filler. Clone Wars fans. Sounds like hearsay to me. It's literally a filler. The whole show is
a filler. It is a filler. It is a sometimes good filler. The Dark Side stories are really good.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's literally filler.
Yeah.
What is that?
Sadly.
I can't. What's going on here?
Oh, he's enjoying the choking.
Harder, Anakin.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. Okay. Don't lose 1,000 lives just to save one. Anakin. Huh, I wonder who that's for. Love makes you do crazy things. Oh, no.
Oh, that makes
That's not will. That's not love that you feel.
That's too small.
That
My
is
eyes.
not love.
I'm not hurting my eyes. Sorry. Oh my God.
Geez, that's small. I can't read.
Look, did I ever tell you about Ahsoka Tano? She was your father's exotic teenage alien apprentice, a fine piece of jailbreak from a more civilized age. She had the tightest body and the prickiest little breasts in the galaxy. All right, I'm not going to read the rest, but I think you get the idea.
Oh, you got to read the rest. Do I got to donate $10 more?
It is amazing, but you guys should read that on your own time. It's pretty good. The many flavors of Mary Sue more than Baskin Robbins. Oh no, guys, come on. I mean,
they're all invented. This is all invented, irrelevant bullshit pseudo-trope.
That's not even half of them, guys.
The problem is that you have feature creep with all these people that then invent more and more and more new things that have exactly one example. That is what Red does. She reads the stuff and then presents it as truth, including pages that she herself wrote and then uses as reference for proof that what she says is actually true.
I like this one, Marty's too.
Beautiful.
That's funny. I think I like that better than Gary's too.
If you ever doubt the power you wield, just remember that someone made a Garfield Ahsoka fusion on CN's Mad.
Oh, they did.
I don't know.
Weird.
That is weird.
I think I remember it. That was a long time ago.
Why can't you people learn to speak my language? I learned to eat your food.
Oh,
Oh, look, here comes the far right.
what is that?
That is the brain bug from Starship Troopers.
Oh. The irony is that
because the humans are allegedly the fascists.
The irony is that leftists are so caught up in a reified idea of media literacy that they can't critically examine how Starship Troopers fails as a satire of fascism. You haven't seen it, have you? I've seen some of the early ones. Dark Vader is quite a complex character.
Yeah, this thing doesn't make sense to me because I have no fucking idea who's saying what because it doesn't make sense going back and forth between these two. Whoever wrote this is a retard.
Yeah.
The first line is true. The rest is a failed joke.
Exactly. Two kinds of people online right now.
What the fuck?
Oh, okay. So it's the things from Starship Troopers and the Marines. You know that Starship Troopers is a parody about fascism. Oh dear.
Written by the Bugs, who are literal communists.
Kamen Rider Kabuto, another tokusatsu, was way better. Okay, a lot of these, they're all about fighting, so the whole show is about fighting. They better have good choreography. There we go, media literacy. Nazis bad. Who's this? Doing a space racism, doing a propaganda, doing a militarism. Brown people good. Being ugly and disgusting, wholesome. Doing an anti-colonialism, doing communism.
Yep.
If you ever feel useless, just remember that Superboy protested against climate change even though he can fix it using his powers.
Oh my god, that's disgusting.
Yeah, next to his self-insert pink-haired gay twink.
Climate with a K? Are you retarded?
Maybe it's
when they write things with C words with a K, it's always a hint at communism. Because originally you write it with a.
And here we have that fun film.
Oh no! He writes it in some other language. He wrote Skullstreak for Klimatet.
So that's another language? Okay, that's my bad. I don't know why he has his pink hair then.
What do we got here? I think this is the Cage film.
Oh, literally me.
Nick Cage. Trying to watch Evangelion. Yep. Yeah, no, it's just the only one I could watch really enjoy is the one where they're dancing, the choreography one where they're timing. Is it Asuka and Shinji?
Asuka and Shinji, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
That's a funny episode.
When it's almost Midsommar 2020 and you start to consider joining a homicidal sect in Sweden. Yeah.
Well, they're Swedes. What do you expect?
Midsommar in a nutshell. Okay.
What the fuck?
Spoilers without context. Yeah, that's not wrong. I mean, here we go. Non-Swedes. No, stop demonizing Swedish culture. The movie Midsommar is not how Midsommar actually is. Actually, Swedish people. Ha ha ha! Fire, go burn.
Hey, in northern Germany, we also like to make big fires. Oh, that's around Easter.
There we go again. I repeat, do not take mushrooms before watching Midsommar. You might think it's going to be fun, but now I assure you, you will die.
Wait, if he shortened his name from Christopher Cross, would that make him Chris Cross?
Do they make him jump? Is that...
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty creepy version of the Muppets. Oh, there's more. When a Swedish friend invites you over for the summer. Oh.
Don't trust the Swedes.
When Gramps asks where you're taking him for his 72nd birthday, I'm going to smack you in the head with a hammer. Ouch. Absurdly triumphant music during a tragic scene. Yes! Trying to understand Zack Snyder. No, it's not that bad. It's not. I mean, there are levels of bad, of comprehension. Nothing really hits Neon Genesis levels of bad with Zack Snyder. It's just dumb. Zack Snyder's just dumb, okay? Smudcast, who's the harder writer to understand, Zach or David Cage?
Example of a David Cage movie?
Yeah, give me...
Game. He only does games, though.
Really? I still need an example.
Yeah, you got games like Heavy Rain.
Yeah, I thought it was those games.
Oh my God, Bloody Rain. Oh, Jesus. There's nothing to understand. It's a game.
Beyond Two Souls gets very annoying with how it keeps jumping back and forth between the times.
Didn't he also do Detroit Beyond Human?
Oh God.
Yep.
Okay.
Was it Heavy Rain or was that someone else?
No, that was David Cage.
Oh my God.
All the dumbest ones you can think, it's David.
Yeah, they're all bad. I mean, you could understand them, but they're all bad. I don't know why you'd want to. With Zach, I mean, he had some good films, but they're not his stories. He just was the director. So I don't know.
I thought he wrote for Man of Steel a little bit.
He did, right?
With David Goyer.
Well, either way, he was creative, so he was doing the writing alongside. So, Jesus, what is this?
Midsommar, but it's fucking Teletubby son.
Oh.
I wonder what it would look like if they put the grown-up face of the baby now on the son.
Yeah, the Wicker Man does have Midsommar vibes for sure.
Oh, not the Wicker. Well, that does, but.
Well, oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Opening your mouth is the last thing you want to do in that situation, by the way.
This is fine. Yeah, this is the guy from Midsommar.
Thanks.
Unbearable boyfriend, bear boyfriend. Oh, Jesus.
Bearable boyfriend. Wait.
Bear boyfriend.
Yeah, like is he a literal bear or
the movie when I'm watching by myself? The movie when someone walks in. Oh, the sex scene. Okay.
Oh my God, are they all nude? What the fuck?
That's always the case.
Tricker made a video on how themes can't save a shit movie.
Huh?
I don't understand, like, what these people think themes are. Is it the subtext? Is it the meta commentary? Like, what do you think a theme is to these people? Like, I don't get it.
It's how it makes you feel, doesn't it?
Oh God. Not really an iconic as the other symbol, is it? I think we'd see it on the highway. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, but those are neo-Nazis.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. The guy with his hood, that is a neo-Nazi symbol.
I thought the flags were just
that they used the is it the tier rune? I don't know the context of that. I haven't seen that before.
All right.
But this looks like a typical neo-Nazi group.
I thought they were just fans.
You can also tell it's a neo-Nazi group because it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 people.
Yeah, they're small. Somewhat related to white not being a concept in Europe, but Microsoft legit made this ad. Original and altered? What the hell?
Was that German or?
I don't.
That's Polish.
Just look at that. It's so silly. Like, that looks so like we just threw a guy in there. But even his shoulder looks like it's We put in.
No, they just
they switched the heads. That's weird. Or one guy, I guess.
Yeah, he still has the same hands.
it's a white guy.
Oh my god. Yeah, my hands are just really black. I don't put enough lotion.
My hands absorb melanin more.
I just tanned my hands, okay?
Well, there's not a lot of black people you can appeal to in Poland.
So they don't even need Miles to replace Peter. They've already got 3 other characters who could do that. Okay.
That's Ben Reilly and Miguel O'Hara. I don't know who that is.
2077, I think. I can't tell.
Those are some very weird muscles.
Oh
on
no,
the girl's legs.
No, that's Mayday. I think for third one.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I don't know where American comic book artists learn anatomy.
Oh, this is a scene from As Good as It Gets. How do you write women so well? I think of a man and take away reason and accountability. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My theory on why Google POS AI. What's POS AI? I don't know.
Piece of shit?
I don't know.
Point of system? I don't know.
Point of sale?
Point of sale?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Thinks George Washington is black. Is that they're confusing him with George Washington Carver?
No, they're not. Look at the actual picture. This thing splits up. And it's no matter what you ask it uses the same 5 or 6 heads.
That's so weird.
So it's extremely lobotomized.
There we go. All the main females. Maybe not Roberta. She's not there, but all the main female in Black Lagoon who are just scary as shit. They're all like crazy.
Well, Roberta was an extra arc afterwards. This is the first part.
The way they describe her, even in the story, she's basically the Terminator. You're like, oh my god.
Jean shirts so hot.
Okay. Fun fact: in the original comics, Alexei Shostakov was Natasha's brainwashed husband, not her father figure, and Yelena Belova was not her sister, but rather her evil counterpart. Oh.
And they decided to make it a family. What the fuck?
Don't watch those films.
Because how else could they have a hook up with the Hulk?
Filch Show released his designs on a bunch of slasher icons last October. Oh, that's cool.
I mean, Candyman was more psychological than the slasher. It's the later movies that.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice is a slasher?
It's not a...
There's only one movie of Beetlejuice.
Only about.
It was a cartoon series.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was okay. I liked it.
That was wacky.
It was fun.
It had I have a feeling it inspired the style for American McGee's Alice.
Oh really? There it is. That is so crazy over the top that these gigantic machines with umbilical
powered
cords.
by mother's souls.
Yeah, with these cables sticking out of their feet or whatever it was from.
They have no cables in this scene.
They have to.
They run on battery here.
No. Well, they do?
Yeah, that's why you have the countdown running in the bottom right corner.
I didn't know that. Cool. Yeah, no, it's a fun episode. One that actually does make you want to kill yourself, but that's good.
Spoken like a true Canadian.
All right. We got some super chats. I'll finish them off. Smud, this is from the thread not. Thank you, sir. Smud, hear me out. Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. You're welcome. No, I saw that. It's great. I liked it. And the second gig as well, also very good. That
Greatly written. I just don't like how clean it is.
It is very clean. Yeah, I like the futuristic animation style, and it blends itself into the Solid State Society movie, which is pretty good.
In second gig, in the later parts of second gig, where they go into dilapidated buildings and the sewers and such, they remedy that. They actually draw more dirty, realistic environments.
Well, even in the second,
but in the first, no. The first is just.
Yeah, no. It's the whole
disinfected clean.
The whole premise of the Solid State was this: these seniors from a war that were being protected, and it wasn't all clean. It wasn't all high tech. So, but yeah, those are great shows. Legacy, thank you, sir. Then they say subtext. They mean it in the way OSP read. Okay, interpret it with King Kong being an allegory for black slaves because film was made in 1930. Yeah, I don't know exactly how they would interpret subtext, but I just stop and say, where are you going with this further explanation that you're connecting dots that aren't in the narrative? I have to stop these people and say, where are you going with this?
Wasn't that a joke in Glorious Bastards?
Which one?
The whole King Kong being an allegory thing.
Oh, really?
Thought that was just a joke.
I don't remember that scene. I don't know. Hard to say. But anytime I hear these film student types that have these, it's really about this, and it's like, yeah, I get it that this weird cult story film about breaking up is about going through the motions of leaving your boyfriend because if it's a bad relationship or whatever the case may be. But that is obfuscated by this.
What a horrible allegory.
Metaphor, whatever. It's just this bad setup to say, hey, I don't like you anymore. I think we should break up. And
I think you should die.
Any mature person would be like, yeah, I'm just going to walk away and say goodbye. And say it in the most polite fashion. I don't care. It takes 2 seconds to do this behavior. And you'll fight for a little bit. And you're like, yeah, I know. I just don't want to do this anymore. Blah, blah, blah. See you guys. Bye.
Well, if they wanted to make something more complicated, they need to explore within what it does to people.
It would be great if you had a story which was kind of a parody of breaking up. And at every opportunity she wants to break up, something good happens to her, and she gets blinded, and she gets distracted. And then as that happens, she sees a good sign of the person she wants to break up with. And when you get to the end, you're like, what is she going to do? Is she going to break up or is she not going to break up? Like you want to have that sort of hope that, maybe she's going to be happy. But at the time she gets to the end, she's so like on both sides, she could be happy breaking up and she could be happy not breaking up. So it's kind of like this good time feeling and this crazy roller coaster she was on of about to do that and then having a good time and then about to do it and having a good time. So that would have been a fun film. And you could do the crazy cult angle. You'd have to downplay it, but you could still use it.
Maybe not have a cult that murders people left and right.
That would be helpful, yeah. That would be very nice. Because the whole idea of a movie like that is she's learning as she's going. She's going into conflict. Something good happens, and she changes her mind. And this happens enough times, even if you don't do the classic example of Freytag's pyramid, where you hit that revelation at the climax, you could have a little series of plot points where she overcomes a conflict and goes, okay, and then it keeps building up. And this is all relationships are. They're a series of events of people coming together, trying to solve a problem together, and the effects of that are felt after the solution is rendered. So it could be a good result. They can get what they want, but they feel psychologically bad as a result, like they get drained, like any relationship with kids or family. So I have nothing against a downer story or using metaphor or poetry or any kind of imagery to represent something sad like breaking up. But when there's no growth, and this is the point that Drinker was making with regards to Midsommar, when there's no character development, when there's no climax, all we're doing is going through the motions in a very long, elaborate way for 2.5 hours. And that's not how you do it. And I could watch the film, and I'm sure my opinion will change as I see what's actually there. But I'm not going to be surprised because there's no revelation. There's no, I get where she's coming from. I get it. No one will. She's just a girl who wants X and she's not getting it. That's all it is. And then her boyfriend dies and then she doesn't have to worry about it anymore. She smiles, the end. So I can skip that. And why are there a bunch of hearts flying up on the screen?
there's a button in the chat that you can click for that. I don't know why YouTube added it.
Is that that's a new YouTube thing.
It just happened. No, it just happened when I turned my head. I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, you can click on that. Do us the YouTube pleasantries and click on the algorithmic relevant button. I don't think this one does anything.
Oh my god!
except pretend to look cute.
That was distracting. Anyway, guys, that was a very strange take. I don't think we've ever heard a guy talk like that before, from criticizing a critic. And
yeah, we for once, finally, after years, have someone who does have a brain, but he's confused by ideological possession.
I think it's mostly biases from his professors.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
Maybe he's so ingrained in his teachings that he's like, nope, this is the only way I'm going to learn. And I've had even family members who really like their left-leaning, or what is it, socialist teaching history profs.
Yeah.
And wow, he's so smart. Yeah, I'm sure these guys are very smart. But if they're ideologically ensconced in their words, then you're probably not getting the best depiction of whatever you're learning.
Read Thomas Sowell's Marxism, Economics, and Philosophy.
Okay, well, I'm going to leave my comment. Thanks, guys, for tuning in this Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow for Anime Day. I don't know what we're covering, but it could be Manga Day. It could be Manhwa Day, whatever you got. Any kind of comics that are in the East. We're good to see. Anyway, have yourself a good evening. We'll talk to you soon. Good night.
Night.
Adios.